Chapter 101. Zhang Jibiao, who was just standing there and making threats, had already run away without knowing when. Zhao Huaqiang felt a chill in his heart and kept greeting Zhang Jibiao's family in his heart. He had clearly invited himself and Gao Mingyuan to help besiege Du Yibai. But now he was in trouble, and he ran away. He was left here to die. Looking at Ling Feng's harmless expression, Zhao Huaqiang felt a chill on his back. He pretended to be calm and said, "I have more than a dozen superpowers in the conquest base. Are you sure you want to be my enemy?" "Sure," Ling Feng said seriously. At the same time, he kept approaching him. "Don't come over here. If you come over here, I won't be polite." Zhao Huaqiang screamed in horror. Ling Feng ignored him and continued to walk towards him, and soon walked in front of Zhao Huaqiang. Plop! Zhao Huaqiang knelt directly in front of Ling Feng, looking pale and begging. "I was wrong. Please spare my life. I won't dare to do it again. I deserve to be beaten." After saying that, he used both hands to slap himself. Not far away, Zhao Huaqiang's younger brothers looked at their boss with complicated eyes. I didn't expect that the superpower who was so powerful on weekdays would kneel down to others. Coward. Bah! This kind of person is not worth their lives. Soon, Zhao Huaqiang's cheeks began to bulge high, and he looked much more pleasing to the eye. Ling Feng looked at him with a playful look. I didn't expect that Zhao Huaqiang could be so flexible. A superpower actually knelt down in front of his many younger brothers. This kind of endurance is really not something that ordinary people can do. Zhao Huaqiang saw Ling Feng standing in front of him with an indifferent face and did not attack him. He saw a glimmer of hope in his heart. He knelt on the ground and said with a flattering smile, "From now on, I will regard you as the most important. You are my boss. As long as you say a word, even if it means going through the knife mountain and the oil pan, I will not hesitate." Ling Feng sneered in his heart. "If you can trust a fence-sitter like you, a sow can climb a tree." He ignored this wretched guy. He bypassed Zhao Huaqiang and walked straight to Du Yibai. Du Yibai's cheeks were slightly red, and a trace of shyness flashed in his eyes. Looking at Ling Feng, who was walking slowly towards him, wearing black clothes, deep eyes, sword eyebrows, and star eyes, majestic, and a kind of domineering without anger. Du Yibai's heart was pounding. Isn't this her dream lover? While Du Yibai was struggling with how to express her gratitude, Ling Feng actually ignored her and walked behind her. Du Yibai's face paused, and she turned to look. Ling Feng's footsteps finally stopped in front of Gao Mingyuan, who was already dead at this time. The whole person was still on the wall with his eyes wide open. He should die with his eyes open. Ling Feng took out a dagger from his waist and skillfully took out a crystal from his head. Ling Feng happily put away the crystal and stood up to ask Zhao Huaqiang for some information about the Wangzhuang mine. When passing by Du Yibai's light voice sounded. "Thank you for saving me." Ling Feng paused and said nonchalantly, "I'm only here to kill people, not to save you. Don't get me wrong." After saying that, he stopped and walked towards Zhao Huaqiang. Du Yibai looked a little gloomy. Ling Feng looked at Zhao Huaqiang, who was still kneeling on the ground, and said coldly, "Tell me about the situation at Wangzhuang mine." Zhao Huaqiang's eyes moved slightly, and he said hurriedly, "Yes, master. I don't know which part of the situation you want to know." "All," Ling Feng said with a somewhat unhappy tone. Zhao Huaqiang explained hurriedly with a panicked look on his face. "I will report the situation at Wangzhuang mine to you now. It is said that there are ores in this Wangzhuang mine that can enhance the strength of the superpowers, but the quantity is not large. The one who discovered this mine is also a superpower. I heard that after he discovered the effect of this, or he used it several times, and then his strength improved greatly. Later, I don't know what happened. The secret of the mine was known to others. Many powerful bases sent people here, hoping to share some of the ore." After Zhao Huaqiang answered the question, he looked at Ling Feng respectfully. Ling Feng thought for a moment and asked again, "What forces are coming to the mine this time?" Zhao Huaqiang thought for a few seconds and said, "Because the ore is so tempting, many forces have received the news and have come here. There are more than a dozen forces, big and small. Among them, there are three main forces with the strongest strength. One is the people from the storm base. They sent 4 psychics this time, and each of them is very powerful. They are the strongest team in this or competition. The second is the Liu family in Qingzhou. As an ancient martial arts family, the Liu family has practiced martial arts for generations. This time they also sent 3 psychics. Rank third is a group called the Co-Creation Base Alliance. They sent 4 people this time. The rest are some small bases, each of which basically has 1 psychic, and their strength is relatively low. Master, these are basically what I know. After Zhao Huaqiang finished speaking, he looked at Ling Feng expectantly. After all, he was still kneeling until now. Although it didn't hurt, it was very awkward. Ling Feng kept thinking about Zhao Huaqiang's words and had a general understanding of the current situation. I didn't expect that so many superpowers gathered in Wangzhuang Mine. Ling Feng was a little excited. If I could get all the crystals of this group of people, my strength would definitely be improved to an unimaginable level. Zhao Huaqiang looked at Ling Feng, whose expression was changing, and felt a little uneasy. Unexpectedly, Ling Feng smiled slightly, and a hint of appreciation flashed in his eyes when he looked at him. Well, not bad. You performed very well. Zhao Huaqiang was happy when he heard this, and he couldn't help but secretly relieved in his heart. It seems that I can save my life today. As long as I can live, there will always be a chance for revenge in the future. The insult I received today, I must make him pay back 1,000 times in the future. But Ling Feng paused, staring at him with a sharp look. Zhao Huaqiang felt scared by his look and laughed dryly. I don't know what troubles the master has. I can help him. I will do my best to do it. Ling Feng's pupils shrank slightly, and he said lightly, "It's very simple. I want you to die." After speaking, Ling Feng had a tang sword in his hand and chopped towards his head. Zhao Huaqiang showed a look of horror, and he had no time to dodge. He felt a chill on his neck and lost consciousness. Ling Feng calmly took out the crystal in Zhao Huaqiang's head and put him into the space. Killing 2 superpowers in a row, Ling Feng gained a lot, and he was even more looking forward to the next action. Chapter 102. Ling Feng looked at Zhao Huaqiang and Zhang Zhibiao's men, all of whom were looking at him with fear. Ling Feng spoke coldly. "Get out! Don't let me see you again, or you'll die." The men ran outside in panic. After all the men left, he slowly walked to Du Yibai's side. He took out a box of anti-inflammatory drugs from the space and handed it to Du Yibai. "Wangzhuang Mine is not a place for you to stay. It will soon be a bloody storm. Leave as soon as possible." After saying that, Ling Feng stuffed the medicine into Du Yibai's hand and turned away. Du Yibai looked at Ling Feng's leaving figure, feeling a little lost. He stomped his feet helplessly and prepared to leave with the remaining men. One of the men couldn't help but speak. "Boss, are we really going to give up this operation?" Du Yibai sighed helplessly, his face full of unwillingness. "Let's go. We are weak, and we will only suffer more casualties here." After solving a small problem, Ling Feng continued to move towards the central area of the mine. The closer he got to the inside, the more people Ling Feng met. When he arrived at the central area of the mine, dozens of simple tents appeared on the ground. Some of the tents would have smoke rising from time to time. Among them were superpowers and ordinary people. Everyone looked around with a vigilant look, ready to attack at any time. Ling Feng walked to a large flat rock and sat cross-legged to rest. Ling Feng's arrival quickly attracted the attention of some people. In a tent not far from him, 5 men were pointing at Ling Feng with a mysterious look on their faces. One of the long-faced men said to one of them respectfully, "Brother Ji, I just observed that this person is a lone wolf, with no companions or allies." The man called Brother Ji was smoking a cigarette. His dark eyes kept thinking, and he said slowly, "Big long face, you go and test his depth later. If it is a superpower, either join our team or get out of here. This time, the superpower or can only be mine." Big long face nodded slightly, and his figure slowly approached Ling Feng's direction. Ling Feng sat cross-legged on the stone, and there was no fluctuation on his calm face. His attention sank into the system space, and the 3 superpower crystals in the space floated quietly in the air. After the upgrade, they have all become top-grade inner pills. His current physical fitness is about 700 times that of ordinary people. Ling Feng estimated that if he used up these 3 inner pills, his physical fitness limit should be able to break through the 1,000 mark. If the body reaches 1,000 times, some changes should occur. This is Ling Feng's premonition. Before, I could rely on my mental power to control some small objects. But this skill is not very lethal at present. If the power can be improved in the future, then this skill will definitely become my trump card. Looking at the 3 inner pills the size of Longan, Ling Feng wanted to eat them now. But now there are so many people and eyes, and there is no guarantee that some strange phenomena will happen during the breakthrough. Ling Feng thought about it, and finally suppressed the impulse in his heart. Just when Ling Feng was concentrating on thinking, a deep voice sounded in his ears. "Brother alone?" Ling Feng frowned, slowly opened his eyes, and glanced at the person who came. This person is of medium build and ordinary appearance. The only recognizable thing is his long face, which looks like a shoehorn. Ling Feng said in a cold tone, "What's the matter?" The long face showed a kind smile and sat directly next to Ling Feng, said in a low voice, "Brother, you are here to try your luck, right? I have a piece of, or I brought out from there. Do you want it?" The long-faced man said, and patted his pocket. Ling Feng glanced at him lightly, with his mouth slightly raised, and did not speak. Seeing that Ling Feng did not seem to care much, the long-faced man continued, "Brother, I see that you have an extraordinary demeanor. You should be a superpower." Ling Feng turned his head slightly and glanced at the long-faced man. He said with cold eyes, "Get out." The long-faced man heard this. His expression instantly darkened, and he showed a fierce smile. "Boy, if you have the guts, wait for me. I hope you—" "Pa!" Before the long-faced man finished speaking, he was slapped away by Ling Feng. The whole body flew in a spiral in the air and finally hit on a tent. The tent was directly crushed. Half of the long-faced man's face was smashed directly, and the scene was extremely horrifying. Several people who were resting in the tent came out of the tent with anger on their faces. One of the ugly, long-haired men shouted angrily, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You almost disfigured me." When he saw the miserable state of the long-faced man, his whole face turned pale in an instant, and he collapsed to the ground in fear. The whole crowd became agitated in an instant, and many people who were watching the excitement gathered around. Pointing at Ling Feng, "Who is this man? He is so cruel. I don't know. He was killed with a slap." The dead man seems to be Ji Kuen's man. Ji Kuen is a vengeful man and will never give up. Ji Kuen is quite powerful. He is one of the best in this mining area. Ji Kuen is very perverted. This morning I saw him skin a man who offended him alive. It was such a miserable scene. TSK, TSK, TSK. The onlookers immediately showed sympathy to Ling Feng. Everyone can imagine how furious Ji Kuen would be if he knew that his little brother was killed. The young man in front of him might suffer crazy revenge from Ji Kuen. Ling Feng sat there calmly, not caring about the comments from the outside world. He also wanted to keep a low profile. But there are always people who rush to die, and he can't just swallow his anger. This is not his style. However, from the mouths of these onlookers, I heard that this person is Ji Kuen's younger brother. This Ji Kuen is quite powerful. It is estimated that he is a superpower. Ling Feng doesn't care about this. No matter what superpower he is, as long as he dares to come, he will be beaten to death. Anyway, I am worried that there are too few inner pills for superpowers now. Since someone comes to give me inner pills, it can't be better. With this thought, Ling Feng closed his eyes slightly and sat there waiting. In the tent, Ji Kuen looked ugly, and his cold eyes stared at the younger brother who reported to him. Where is that person now? Ji Kuen's younger brother glanced at Ji Kuen's sinister face and shrank his head subconsciously. He said in a nervous tone, "Then, that person is still sitting there and didn't leave." Ji Kun laughed angrily when he heard this. His expression was so gloomy that water was about to drip out. Good, very good. You killed my people, and you dare to wait for me here. You are so brave. Ji Kun stood up suddenly and walked out with a murderous look on his face. Chapter 103. Just after Ling Feng slapped the long-faced man to death. 10 minutes had passed. The crowd of onlookers not only did not decrease, but increased. Everyone was waiting to see the show. Ling Feng stood up and stretched his body, looking a little irritated. Why didn't the people on the other side come over? He gave in. Just then, the crowd suddenly became agitated. Ling Feng glanced and saw a direction in the crowd and automatically made way. A man with a cold look walked in, followed by a dozen sturdy younger brothers. The man was tall, with long hair casually scattered on his shoulders. He put his hands behind his back, his face was cold, and his eyes were full of coldness and ruthlessness. The man actually carried a 9-ring broadsword behind him, which looked mighty and extraordinary. Some people in the crowd began to murmur in a low voice. This Ji Kun has a mysterious origin. I heard that he is from a large base. He practiced long sword for 2.5 years. No wonder Ji Kun is so arrogant. It turns out that he has a strong backstage. Shh, keep your voice down. Don't let him hear it, or it will be terrible. Ji Kun stared at Ling Feng coldly with his eagle eyes and didn't speak for a long time. Ling Feng also stood there with a calm face, examining Ji Kun, not caring at all. The atmosphere on the field was extremely depressing. Just when Ling Feng was bored to yawning, Ji Kun's cold voice sounded. You killed my people and dared to wait for me here? You are very brave. Ling Feng smiled calmly and said calmly. I know, even if I killed him, so what? Ji Kun smiled without anger. He said with a slightly relaxed tone, I admire your courage. If you are willing to submit to me, I can consider sparing your life. Ling Feng sneered and looked at Ji Kun with contempt. Just you. Ji Kun stood there coldly without saying anything. A younger brother behind him said proudly, Our boss is a powerful superpower. Not only that, he has defeated 5 and killed 3 superpowers. After saying that, the younger brother looked at Ling Feng arrogantly. The onlookers around exclaimed, I didn't expect Ji Kun to be so powerful. The man on the opposite side is in danger. Every superpower is a godlike existence. He also killed 3. It's so terrifying. Ji Kun, who was in the center of the focus, couldn't help but straighten his chest when he heard the praises around him. There was a hint of provocation in his eyes when he looked at Ling Feng. If you want to fight, fight. I hate people who pretend to be powerful the most. Ling Feng said impatiently. A trace of violence flashed in Ji Kun's eyes. He said as he drew out the 9-ring broadsword from his back. Since you were so eager to die, you can blame me for being rude. After speaking, he ran towards Ling Feng at high speed. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Ling Feng. Ji Kun raised his long sword, making a series of metallic sounds of steel rings colliding. The blade emitted a faint green light, which caused ripples, and even the air became distorted. It turned out to be a green flame, which looked extremely strange. Ji Kun slashed at Ling Feng's neck with his long sword, and his move was ruthless. Ji Kun's sword swinging speed was so fast that everyone only saw a white afterimage. Everyone exclaimed, What a fast sword! Facing this sword, even a superpower would find it difficult to block it. The long sword would soon hit Ling Feng's neck. Ji Kun's eyes were filled with madness, and a bloodthirsty smile rose on his face. Under the long knife, the moment Ling Feng was chopped, Ling Feng's figure disappeared directly on the spot. Ji Kun had an unbelievable look on his face. Where is the person? He was about to be chopped just now. How could he suddenly disappear? Just when he was still shocked, a teasing voice suddenly sounded in his ear. Hey, this is all you can do. Ji Kun turned back suddenly, and the long knife in his hand slashed towards the source of the sound. Ling Feng's ghostly figure disappeared again. Can you do it? Are you just pretending? Ling Feng's mocking voice appeared in his ears again. Ji Kun frowned and slashed wildly with a violent look. But he couldn't even cut Ling Feng's shadow. Ji Kuan's self-esteem was greatly insulted. Under the onlookers of so many people, he was like a dog, being swayed around by others. The crowd on the sidelines looked at this scene in amazement and could not believe that the battle would be presented in this way. Some people began to doubt the authenticity of Ji Kuan's strength. He also said that he had killed several superpowers, but now he can't even touch their hair. Too funny. Ji Kuan listening to the mocking voices in the crowd. His eyes almost spit fire. A trace of madness flashed across his eyes. He roared, "Come out! Come out! I want to fight you fair and square." His throat was hoarse, and he was furious. "Okay." Ling Feng's cold voice sounded, and he suddenly appeared in front of him and threw a punch. Ji Kuan had no time to dodge, and was hit in the chest by a punch, and the whole person flew backwards. His body became a shrimp in the air. Finally, his body hit the wall more than 10 meters away, and the wall collapsed, raising a cloud of dust. Ji Kuan coughed up blood from the corner of his mouth and stood up with difficulty. His eyes were full of horror when he looked at Ling Feng. Since he awakened his superpowers, he has never been defeated, and he has crushed all his enemies all the way. He thought he would be the son of destiny in this world. I didn't expect to be defeated so thoroughly today. I was also defeated by someone in a crushing manner. This person's strength is far beyond my own. His internal organs were obviously severely damaged by this punch just now. If it weren't for my strong defense ability, I'm afraid I would be dead. At the same time, Ling Feng also looked at Ji Kuan with a surprised face. My punch didn't kill him. Although I only used 50% of my strength, it was enough to kill an ordinary psychic. It seems that this Ji Kuan is really good, Ling Feng said secretly in his heart. He moved towards Ji Kuan with an indifferent look in his eyes. Ji Kuan looked at Ling Feng nervously, with a flash of panic in his eyes. "You can't kill me?" "Oh, why?" Hearing this, Ling Feng paused and asked with a puzzled look. Ji Kuan pretended to be calm and said, "I am from the Kai family of Jinling. You should know how powerful the Kai family is." When Ji Kuan said this, the crowd was boiling again. Jinling Kai family, known as the underworld emperor of Jinling. He can be said to be omnipotent in Jinling. Even after the end of the world, the Kai family recruited a group of superpowers with its strong material strength. In Kai Haonan, the head of the Kai family of Jinling, is also a superpower. After the end of the world, Kai Haonan not only formed his own army, but also a shadow army composed of superpowers. Strong. Ji Kuan saw the reactions of the people around him, and the fear in his heart subsided a little. Just when he was rejoicing, a sudden change occurred. Chapter 104. Ling Feng, who was standing not far away, suddenly teleported to Ji Kuan. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed Ji Kuan's neck. Ji Kuan's figure shook and tried to dodge to the side, but Ling Feng's speed was too fast. No matter how he dodged, he still couldn't get rid of Ling Feng, and finally his neck was tightly pinched by Ling Feng. Ling Feng exerted force with his palm, and Ji Kuan was lifted up directly. Ji Kuan's face turned red like liver, and a trace of panic flashed in his eyes. For the first time, he felt that death was so close to him. In fear, he slapped Ling Feng's arms with both hands, but it was useless. Ling Feng said indifferently, "I don't care who you are or how powerful you are. If you provoke me, even the King of Heaven can't do it." The onlookers looked at Ling Feng in shock. This man is really fearless. Even the Kai family in Jinling dares to provoke. Young people are still too impulsive, don't know how to hide your weakness. Ji Kuan listened to Ling Feng's cold words, and his defense line in his heart completely collapsed. He begged for mercy in fear. "Please, please, let me go. I will never trouble you again. I promise not to use the power of the family to deal with you." Ling Feng looked at him with a sneer on his face and said in a cold tone, "Do you think I will believe you? I still understand the principle of letting the tiger go back to the mountain. Do you think I am such a stupid person?" Ji Kuan saw that Ling Feng was not moved by soft and hard, and stared at Ling Feng with a cold face, gritting his teeth, and said, "If you kill me, our Kai family will not let you go. Our head of the family is a superpower person, Killing you is like drinking water. Just wait to accept the crazy revenge of our Kai family. Huh? Ji Kun laughed wildly. Noisy, Ling Feng said impatiently. The strength in his hands increased unconsciously, ready to deal with this person. Just then, a loud voice sounded. Stop! Ling Feng paused his hand movements and looked in the direction of the voice. The person who spoke was a middle-aged man in a fiery red tang suit. The middle-aged man had a square face, straight eyebrows, and extraordinary demeanor, giving people a sense of majesty without anger. At first glance, it was the temperament cultivated by being in a high position for a long time. Ling Feng looked at the person coming. His expression gradually became cold, and his eyes narrowed slightly. It's really like beating the younger one, and the older one came. Seeing that Ling Feng's hand was still pinching Ji Kun's neck, he had no intention of letting go. The middle-aged man said kindly, This little brother, I am Lu Wei from the Lu family in Qingzhou. This man's father and I are good friends. Can you give me a face today and let him go? After Lu Wei finished speaking, he looked at Ling Feng with a smile on his face. As soon as Lu Wei said this, the crowd burst into a commotion again. The Lu family in Qingzhou is the largest family in Qingzhou. Before the end of the world, the Lu family's business was all over Qingzhou, and the Lu family had a lot of say in both the underworld and the white world. The head of the Lu family was also respected as Lu Banqing. After the end of the world, the Lu family formed a force and ruled one side. Now the entire Qingzhou is basically ruled by the Lu family. What's more, the Lu family has a superpowered person whose martial arts are unfathomable. Powered people are also divided into different levels. Some powers do not increase combat power much, and are only a little stronger than ordinary people. Superpowered people refer to those who are powerful in combat and far exceed ordinary powered people. It is said that ordinary powered people can only last 3 moves in front of the Lu family's superpowered people. Ling Feng listened to the discussion about the Lu family in Qingzhou. He didn't care about the powerful force of the Lu family. With his own strength, he might not be defeated by the superpowered person. After seeing Lu Wei, Ji Kun, who was already desperate, had a flash of surprise in his eyes. He shouted excitedly, Uncle Lu, save me! Ling Feng looked at Lu Wei, who was full of confidence, and said lightly, Sorry, I haven't heard of it. I'm not familiar with it. If you have nothing to do, don't bother me killing people. The smile on Lu Wei's face immediately froze, and his expression was gloomy. He didn't expect that this junior would not give his Lu family face. With the strength of his Lu family, everyone who saw him was not respectful. This kid actually dared to speak like this. A trace of murderous intent flashed in Lu Wei's eyes, and he said coldly, Young man, don't think you are fearless just because you have some strength. Be careful of being broken. Some people are not something you can afford to offend. Ling Feng sneered and said nothing. He pinched Ji Kun's hand and exerted force instantly. Ji Kun felt difficulty breathing, and his hands and feet kept shaking. Ling Feng clenched his other hand into a fist, hit Ji Kun's face hard. Bang! With a sound, Ji Kun's entire head was instantly shattered. Ling Feng wiped the red and white things on his hands calmly and took away the crystal in Ji Kun's head. Lu Wei's expression was extremely gloomy. This Ling Feng not only didn't give him face and let him go, but also dared to kill people in front of him. Isn't this equivalent to rubbing his face in the toilet? How can he survive in the underworld in the future? Lu Wei said coldly, You are looking for death. It seems that I must teach you a lesson today. Ling Feng looked at him coldly, clenched his fists, and prepared to fight. At this critical moment, another person came to the field, and he walked to the middle of the two with an anxious look on his face. He said with a friendly face, Calm down, both of you. Let's talk it out. Why bother with me? Ling Feng looked at the man who was talking. He was thin, about 50 years old, and had a kind face. After Lu Wei saw the man, his stern face softened a little, but his tone was still a little cold. Lu Sanhe, this man killed my friend's son and dared to speak rudely. This matter is not over. Lu Sana sighed and said helplessly, Master Lu, if there is any grudge, why don't we wait until after the exchange meeting to resolve it? The exchange meeting is about to start now, so let's go to the meeting. If you are not at this meeting, we can't hold it. Lu Wei thought for a moment and exhaled. He said with a grim smile at Ling Feng, just let you live a little longer. Enjoy your last moments. After saying that, he left quickly surrounded by a group of people. As soon as he walked out of the crowd, Lu Wei said to a subordinate beside him, keep an eye on this man. Don't let him run away. I'll settle accounts with him when I get the supernatural or... The subordinate nodded slightly and immediately went to make arrangements. Ling Feng looked at the newly upgraded inner elixir in his hand with excitement. I didn't expect this chicken coin to have something. According to the system's explanation, after taking it, the body will produce supernatural fire. If I have this ability, then my strength will be on another level. After calculating, I first have 4 inner elixirs. It's time to find a place to improve my strength. Chapter 105. Now Ling Feng is in a dangerous environment. He must improve his strength again, so that he can protect himself and be competitive in the subsequent or competition. Ling Feng frowned as he looked at the crowd that had not yet dispersed. He had just killed Ji Kuan with great force and offended Lu Wei again. He has become the focus of everyone, and it is difficult for him to find a quiet place. He can't even keep a low profile. Ling Feng used teleportation to quickly leave the crowd and easily get rid of other people's eyes. A Lu family thug who was originally monitoring Ling Feng saw Ling Feng suddenly disappear. His expression changed. This guy won't run away, right? The thug said to himself. The second master told him to keep a close eye on this person, but he lost the target in just a few minutes. How can I report back like this? The thugs had no choice but to search carefully. Ling Feng rushed all the way, deliberately avoiding the crowd, and came to a remote mine cave. The whole mine cave was very hidden, and it could not be found without careful observation. This was what Ling Feng found after searching for a long time. After making sure that no one was following, he also set up a large number of traps at the entrance of the mine cave. Only then did he feel at ease to walk into the mine cave and block the entrance with a large stone. Then he sat cross-legged. Ling Feng took out 4 inner pills the size of Longan from the space one by one. The inner pills were milky white throughout, and the surface exuded a faint fragrance. However, the sizes of the inner pills were different. Some were big, and some were small. The largest one was obtained from Ji Kuan, and the energy fluctuation of this inner pill was also the largest. Ling Feng picked up one of them and threw it into his mouth without hesitation. The inner pill entered the mouth and instantly turned into a liquid, flowing into the internal organs. After a few breaths, that strange feeling appeared again. Ling Feng felt that he was extremely comfortable. It was like a person who had done physical work for a day and was tired and weak, lying on a soft bed. At the same time, the internal organs in the body kept making a roaring sound. The brain was also in a clear state, and the whole person's thinking was extremely active. This process lasted for about 10 minutes. Ling Feng closed his eyes and felt the changes in his body. The most obvious thing was that his skin seemed to have become whiter. Ling Feng did not feel it carefully again, but took out the second inner pill and ate it. Then the third, the fourth. An hour later, Ling Feng opened his tightly closed eyes, and a glimmer of enlightenment flashed across his eyes. So that's it. Just now, after Ling Feng absorbed 4 more top-grade inner pills, his body underwent earth-shaking changes. First of all, his brain development has reached 50%. Now he can control the movement of objects at will, which is a bit similar to Du Yibai's skill. However, Du Yibai can only control metals, while he can control all objects, and his speed and strength are far superior to Du Yibai. The second is the change in the control ability of the body. Ling Feng can now control the opening and closing of every pore. He can also observe the inside of his body through mental power. The proportion of golden blood in his blood has increased significantly. It was only a trace before, but now it is close to 1/5. The bone density of the whole person has become very large, and the blood circulation speed is very fast. It is really like a dragon. In addition to these, there are also supernatural powers attached to the inner elixir. The most practical of them is the Strange Fire. The upgraded Strange Fire has a very high temperature. Ling Feng estimates that it is at least about 1,000 degrees, which can burn a person to ashes in an instant. In addition to this supernatural power, there are also several supernatural powers, such as petrification of the body, enlargement of body organs, and flame fist. The rest of the superpowers are useless to Ling Feng. His current physical strength must have exceeded 1,000. No matter who punches him, he will fall asleep. After completing the upgrade, Ling Feng walked out of the mine and prepared to see what exchange meeting Lu Sana just talked about. Ling Feng kicked the ground with his legs, and his whole body left the ground in an instant. In an abandoned auditorium in Wangzhuang Mine, there were hundreds of people sitting in groups below the auditorium. These people came for superpower ores. There were dozens of superpowers among them. Lu Sana stood on the stage at the front of the auditorium with a kind face and greeted the group of people enthusiastically. Soon Ling Feng also walked in and found a seat at the back casually. Lu Sana, standing on the stage, soon found Ling Feng's figure, and he smiled at him. Ling Feng walked over. "Little brother, why are you sitting here? Come on, sit down in the front." Ling Feng was a little uncomfortable with his overly enthusiastic words. He said calmly, "No need. It's the same here." Lu Sana laughed and said with admiration in his tone, "Little brother's strength is also ranked among the top among this group of superpowers. You deserve to sit in the first row." Under Ling Feng's insistence, Lu Sana finally gave up the idea of letting Ling Feng sit in the first row. After Ling Feng chatted with him briefly for a few more words, Lu Sana hurried away again and was busy greeting other people. Ling Feng stared at Lu Sana's back as he left. His eyes narrowed slightly. This Lu Sana is not simple. Although he always looks smiling, Ling Feng's sixth sense tells him that there is something wrong with this person. He was the one who took the lead in organizing this exchange meeting, and the purpose was to discuss the allocation of mineral resources. And this mineral resource was also discovered by him first. Now everyone only knows about the improvement effect of minerals by word of mouth, and has not seen it with their own eyes. What exactly does Lu Sana want to do? Ling Feng thought for a long time, but he couldn't figure it out. But he must be cautious about this person. He's playing a big game. At this moment, Lu Sana's kind voice sounded on the stage. "Friends from afar, welcome to Wangzhuang Mine. I know that many of you have great doubts about the authenticity of the supernatural ore, but today I will personally demonstrate the effect of this supernatural ore to everyone here." After saying that, he waved his hand, and two workers brought a table. Lu Sana took out a fist-sized ore from his pocket. The ore is irregular in shape and purple in color. There are some red veins on the ore, which looks like a blood vessel diagram of the human body. Lu Sana took the ore in his hand and said to the audience, "Everyone, watch carefully." After that, a stream of pure energy was stimulated from the ore, and the energy flowed through his arm into his brain. Lu Sana became visibly stronger. As the last bit of energy was consumed, the ore in Lu Sana's hand lost its original luster and turned into an ordinary stone. The people watching in the audience were all shocked by the strange phenomenon that happened to Lu Sana. The eyes looking at the supernatural were full of greed. Chapter 106. After the demonstration, the supernaturals on the scene were immediately excited. Lu Sana's body was visibly changed, and his aura was greatly improved. Even his appearance seemed to have changed a little, and he looked several years younger. Lu Sana looked at the reactions of the crowd and smiled slightly. "Everyone, you should now believe in the effect of supernatural ores on supernaturals." The leaders of several major forces off the field had different expressions and kept calculating in their minds. After all, the effect of supernatural ores is too amazing. If you can get these ores, then your forces will definitely increase in strength. With the improvement of strength, you can encroach on other forces and plunder more food and resources. "I wonder how much of this ore is in the mine?" A supernatural in the crowd asked a question. As soon as this was said, Everyone looked at Liu Sana eagerly. Liu Sana sighed and said with regret, "To be honest, I just found a small amount of, or reserves. The total reserve is about 100 pieces. And they are all deep in the mine. We need to dig them out ourselves." As soon as the voice fell, the crowd was immediately filled with dissatisfied voices. "What? So little? How can we divide it among so many of us?" "That's right. We came all the way here, so we don't want to return empty-handed in the end." Just when the crowd was noisy, a deep voice sounded. "We, the Qingzhou Liu family, will take half of this, and you can divide the rest among yourselves," Liu Wei said with a domineering look. The people from the small bases below the stage suddenly looked unhappy. The content of the ore here is originally small, and the Liu family alone will take half of it. How will they divide the rest among so many people? There are other big forces among them. There will be even fewer in their hands. However, due to the power of the Liu family, many people dared to be angry but not to speak. However, the other forces in the field were different. Zhao Wuji of the Storm Base directly ridiculed him. "What a big tone you, the Qingzhou Liu family, really think you are invincible, right? We at the Storm Base will not fall for your tricks." Zhao Wuji said this with confidence. After all, they brought 5 psychics this time, although one of them could not be contacted for the time being. "I believe they will return to the team soon. But there are only 3 psychics in the Liu family team, and their strength is obviously not as good as their Storm Base. Besides, they have a backup plan. There is also a force of the Co-Creation Base Alliance on the field that also expressed dissatisfaction. League leader Zhang Fatsai said, "We, the Co-Creation Alliance, do not agree with this plan. We demand that it must be divided equally." The Co-Creation Alliance is an alliance composed of 8 small bases, and 4 psychics also came this time. Liu Wei's eyes sank, and his expression was cold. "Are you sure you want to be my enemy?" Zhao Wuji sneered and slapped the table with a pop. The marble table instantly broke into pieces and scattered on the ground. Zhao Wuji stood up and stared at Liu Wei, saying with disdain, "What if I am your enemy, Zhao Wuji? Don't put on airs in front of me. We have superpowers in Storm Base. If you want to fight, we are not afraid of you." Zhao Wuji's eyes were gloomy, and a murderous intent emanated from him. "Then let's see who is stronger," Liu Wei said with a gloomy face. The atmosphere on the field was full of gunpowder, and the battle was about to break out. The rest of the people in the small base were silent, and they didn't even dare to breathe heavily, for fear of attracting the attention of several major forces. At this tense moment, Liu Sana stood between the two with a smile. "Don't be angry, both of you. We can talk it out. Don't make a big fuss about it." Liu Wei snorted coldly and stared at Zhao Wuji. Zhao Wuji also looked at Liu Wei with a provocative look, ready to attack at any time. Liu Sana saw the expressions of the two people, and a trace of barely perceptible joy flashed across his eyes. On the surface, he still looked like a good old man, and said slowly, "I do have some suggestions. I wonder if I can tell you." Zhang Fatsai, the leader of the Co-Creation Base Alliance, said with a smile, "Old Liu, if you have any suggestions, just tell us. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have known this place." Liu Sana nodded slightly and said immediately, "My suggestion is that everyone should go to the mine to search on their own. As for how much you can get, it all depends on your own ability." "How about it?" The leaders of several major forces couldn't help but bow their heads and ponder. On the contrary, the superpowers coming out of the small bases were excited, and their eyes were full of excitement. Originally, their major forces wanted to divide up this mine. Sure, it is too difficult for people in these small bases to get any benefits from it. If they search by themselves, doesn't it mean that they can also get a share of it? As long as they are lucky, they may have a big harvest. "I agree." Zhang Fatsai spoke first. Although there are not many superpowers brought by their base this time, there are many ordinary base members, and they can let these people search quickly. After Zhang Fatsai expressed his opinion, Zhao Wuji also nodded. "Then let's follow this plan." In fact, he didn't say another word. "Anyway, it will belong to our storm base in the end, so let you keep it temporarily." With the consent of the two major forces, Liu Wei could only nod in agreement. Although his family is powerful, there are still dozens of superpowers here. If you offend these people, it will be a trouble. Lu Sanhe was very happy to see that his suggestion was adopted. Ling Feng, who was sitting in the back row, looked at the scene just now and always felt that something was wrong. What on earth does this Lu Sanhe want to do? However, he is not worried about his own safety. His strength has skyrocketed, and his entire life has evolved. His powerful strength makes him fearless of any conspiracy. In the crowd, he also saw Zhang Jibiao. He let him run away in the previous battle, but he didn't expect that he would run into the team of the storm base. It seems that after entering the mine later, I have to pay special attention to this person because his ability is very important to Ling Feng. The exchange meeting soon came to an end, and most of the people with abilities were very satisfied with the results this time. Ling Feng felt a little bored and got up and left. As soon as he walked to the gate, he was blocked by two burly men in black. One of them said with a fierce look in his eyes, "Our captain wants to see you. You can't leave now. Stay here." Ling Feng frowned and said coldly, "Get out of the way, otherwise you will bear the consequences." The two men in black were indifferent to Ling Feng's words and still blocked Ling Feng's way. Ling Feng sneered. "Pah, pah." The two men in black were directly slapped and flew out, hitting the door behind. It caused a huge noise. The two men in black were bleeding and fell to the ground, with half of their faces swollen. This was the result of Ling Feng showing mercy. The action here caused other people in the auditorium to look sideways. "You are so brave, you dare to kill my people." A furious voice came from behind Ling Feng. Chapter 107. Ling Feng turned his head and found Zhao Wuji glaring at him with a cold expression. "You two dogs are a little disobedient. I will help you discipline them," Ling Feng said casually. Zhao Wuji's face was extremely ugly, and he said angrily, "As the saying goes, you have to look at the owner before beating a dog. You don't take me, Zhao Wuji, seriously. And I kindly invited you to join our team, but you didn't join, and you even hurt people. Do you look down on our storm base?" Ling Feng said calmly, "Why should I take you seriously? And you have to treat people with the right attitude. I've shown special favor by not killing them today. Next time, no matter who you are, I will kill you." As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Feng turned around and walked out. "Fuck!" Zhao Wuji took a step forward, ready to fight Ling Feng, but was stopped by Zhang Jibiao behind him. Zhang Jibiao whispered a few words in his ear. Zhao Wuji's cold face showed a grim smile. After the exchange meeting, all the superpowers came to the entrance of the mine under the leadership of Lu Sanhe. The deepest part of the entire mine reached 400 meters, with a total of 4 entrances. The mine was connected in all directions, and it was extremely easy to get lost. Because of the power outage, everyone had to walk down the mine. All this information was informed by Lu Sanhe in advance. In addition, in order to facilitate everyone's search, he also thoughtfully prepared headlights for everyone, so that everyone could find or in a dark environment. After introducing all the situations, some people couldn't wait to walk into the mine. After that, everyone began to enter the mine one after another. Ling Feng stood behind the crowd and didn't follow in rashly. In the end, Ling Feng was the only one left on the ground, and even Lu Sanhe followed in. Ling Feng hesitated for a moment, but still followed in. After all, there are so many superpowers down there. If I can kill a few of them, wouldn't my strength be improved? Besides, I have already offended the Lejai storm base. They will definitely not give up. Ling Feng walked forward along the damp and dark mine tunnel because he was the last one to enter. The mine tunnel was surprisingly quiet. Only the sound of his footsteps was left. After walking along the mine tunnel for about 10 minutes, Ling Feng estimated that he should have walked more than 400 meters. Now he should be 400 meters underground. There was a fork in the road ahead, leading to 3 directions. Ling Feng casually found the leftmost direction and walked in. He walked forward for about 2 minutes again. Suddenly, a scream came along the passage. Ling Feng's pupils shrank slightly, and his expression was slightly solemn. He hurriedly walked in the direction of the sound. After passing through the passage, we entered a large mine pit, which was about the size of a football field. in the middle of the mine pit, a giant python was chasing two psychics around. One of them had his right arm cut off, leaving irregular teeth marks on the wound, which should have been bitten by the giant python. In addition to these two people, there were 7 or 8 bodies on the ground that were bitten and broken. Ling Feng looked at the giant python. The giant python was 70 or 80 meters long, as thick as 2 buckets, with a light red body, and a pair of eyes emitting a bloodthirsty light. This giant python was much bigger than the one Ling Feng encountered last time, and this giant python was obviously smarter. The 2 psychics in front of it could obviously be killed easily, but the giant python still let them escape, and then bit them from time to time. The 2 psychics who were fleeing suddenly saw Ling Feng in the distance. The 2 looked at each other and ran towards Ling Feng tacitly. Ling Feng's expression turned cold. These 2 people actually wanted to lead the giant python to him. They wanted to divert the trouble to someone else. They were really vicious. Ling Feng took out the Tang sword from the space and prepared to fight the giant python. But before that, he couldn't let these 2 psychics who wanted to divert the trouble to someone else go. Ling Feng's figure flashed, and he came in front of the 2 people in a breath. The long sword in his hand flashed past. The 2 psychics only saw a flash of white light, and then they saw their heads had left the ground. Kill 2 psychics instantly. This is Ling Feng's current strength. With strong physical fitness, ordinary psychics can kill instantly. Even if it is a super psychic, he has the confidence to defeat it. After killing the 2 psychics, only Ling Feng and the giant python were left in the field. The giant python stopped and kept swallowing scarlet tongues. A pair of snake eyes scrutinizing Ling Feng. His eyes were full of humanity. Ling Feng looked at the giant python with a serious face. Such a huge python must be very powerful. This should be the most powerful enemy Ling Feng has ever encountered. Ling Feng held the Tang sword in his hand and stood still calmly, ready to attack at any time. Swoosh! The giant python took the lead and swung its tail like lightning to hit Ling Feng. Ling Feng easily avoided the attack of the giant python by moving his body. The huge python's tail missed and hit the wall next to Ling Feng. The whole wall was broken into pieces and some stones fell down. Ling Feng flashed and teleported directly to the back of the giant python. The Tang sword in his hand slashed at the giant python. The giant python reacted quickly and shrank suddenly. The Tang sword passed along the snake's scales, bringing up a burst of sparks. Ling Feng's expression slightly changed. He didn't expect that the giant python's defense ability was so strong. Even the Tang sword couldn't break his defense. The giant python stared at Ling Feng with bloodshot eyes. Ling Feng's sneak attack just now had angered him. Although it didn't cause any damage, it also made him feel a little pain. The giant python made a hissing sound and moved quickly towards Ling Feng again. The giant python opened his bloody mouth, revealing sharp fangs, and bit Ling Feng fiercely. Ling Feng dodged the attack with a teleportation. He put away the Tang sword and clenched his fists. Green flames emanated from his fists. The moment the flames came out, the surrounding temperature instantly rose, and even the air became distorted. Ling Feng once again took advantage of his speed and teleported to the giant python. He punched the giant python. The moment the fist touched the giant python's scales, the scales were instantly burned by the strange fire, emitting an attractive burn aroma. The giant python screamed instantly. The whole body of the python swung violently, trying to throw Ling Feng off its body. However, Ling Feng relied on his strong core ability to stick to the giant python's body tightly. No matter how the giant python struggled, it was helpless. Ling Feng rode on the giant python, constantly waving his fists and hitting the giant python. Hundreds of dense wounds soon appeared on the giant python's body, and the smell of burning continued to emit from it. The giant python resisted fiercely at the beginning, but finally collapsed to the ground. Only a pair of scarlet eyes were left staring at Ling Feng with resentment. Chapter 108. Ling Feng shook his arms. His hands were a little sore from punching hundreds of times. He came to the front of the giant python and looked at the half-dead giant python. Ling Feng was very excited. With such a big giant python, the effect of his demon pill would definitely be better. The giant python moved his huge head and tried to get up, but no matter how hard he tried, it was useless. Ling Feng's fist just now had smashed all his internal organs. Ling Feng punched the python's head without hesitation. The giant python's eyes gradually blurred and finally slowly closed their eyes. Ling Feng took great pains to open the python's head and took out the crystal inside. This crystal was much larger than the crystal he got from killing the giant python before. After the system upgrade, the crystal can be turned into a demon pill. Ling Feng bar the crystal was put into the space for upgrading. Top-grade Demon Beast Inner Pill. Contains very rich energy, can help the human body improve physical fitness and develop the brain by 10%. When Ling Feng saw the system panel, he was ecstatic. Brain development has reached 10%. Sure enough, the effect is much stronger than the crystals of ordinary psychics. Looking at the milky white demon pill, Ling Feng directly put it into the space. The current environment is not suitable for absorbing demon pills, so it is better to explore this place now. Ling Feng came to the bodies of the two psychics who had just been killed and took out their crystals. Then he continued to walk into the mine. Not long after Ling Feng left, a ghostly figure came to the side of the giant python. He was dressed in black, and his whole body was hidden in the darkness, making it difficult to see his face. Xiaozi. He hugged the huge body of the giant python with a sad look. Who is it? Who killed my Xiaozi? Ah! The angry roar of the man in black echoed in the pit. On the other side, at this time, Ling Feng came to the deepest part of the mine. He never met anyone else along the way, only corpses. There were even corpses of superpowers inside, but strangely, the crystals in these people's heads were gone. Ling Feng frowned and felt more and more weird. Could it be that besides himself, there are other people who would use superpowers crystals to improve their strength? Ling Feng was puzzled. He didn't think about it anymore and continued to search in the mine to see if there were any superpower ores. As expected, there was nothing. He was now sure that Lu Sanhe was definitely not a good person, and there must be a conspiracy. Maybe the giant python just now was also related to him. After finding that he couldn't find anything useful, Ling Feng began to return along the same route. He returned to the fork in the road again, and this time he chose the middle position. Ling Feng felt that the passage in the middle was obviously longer than the previous one. After walking for about 10 minutes, he still hadn't reached the end. Along the way, Ling Feng found more than a dozen bodies again, including people from the Storm Base and the Lu family. But they were all ordinary people, and there were no bodies of superpowers. After walking another 100 meters, another fork in the road appeared in front of him. Ling Feng randomly chose one to go in again. Not long after he went in, Ling Feng met a familiar face. Zhang Jibiao. At this time, he was standing behind Zhang Fatsai. In addition to him, there were 3 superpowers and dozens of ordinary alliance members around Zhang Fatsai. How did he get involved with the people of the Co-Creation Base Alliance again? Ling Feng muttered in his heart. When Zhang Jichao saw Ling Feng, he was instantly furious in his murderous, intense sword. Enemies are particularly jealous when they meet. Zhang Jibiao gritted his teeth and said, Ling Feng, God is so kind that I can meet you again. Today I will avenge my brother. Ling Feng smiled faintly. Where do you get your confidence from? Or do you think you can do it again? Yes, I just had a wonderful encounter, and my strength has skyrocketed. In addition, with the help of several superpowers who co-founded the Alliance, I will definitely kill you, Zhang Jibiao said confidently. Zhang Fatsai on the side heard this and said casually, Okay, don't talk nonsense with him. Get rid of him quickly. Don't forget your promise. After the matter is done, your Spark base will be included in the Alliance. Although Zhang Jibiao was unwilling, he still gritted his teeth and agreed to avenge his brother. Ling Feng looked at the confident face on the opposite side, puffed and laughed. Zhang Jibiao snorted coldly and said coldly, You dare to laugh when you are about to die. Ling Feng waved his hands hurriedly and said with a smile, Sorry, I didn't want to laugh. I just couldn't help it. You guys are just a bunch of scumbags, and you want to kill me. Where do you get the confidence from? Zhang Fatsai's expression froze, and his expression instantly darkened. You sharp-tongued thing. It's better if you still keep your mouth shut later. Zhang Fatsai waved his hand, and 3 superpowers instantly surrounded Ling Feng. Zhang Zhibiao stood behind the crowd and began to use his skills. Ling Feng only felt a weight on his body, and the gravity on his body doubled. However, this level of gravity had little effect on Ling Feng. This gravity was at most 20 times, and for him, it was the same as nothing. Zhang Zhibiao saw Ling Feng standing there, thinking that Ling Feng could not move. His expression was happy, and he shouted to the other 3. Everyone, this person has been trapped by my gravity. Everyone work together to solve this person. The 3 looked at each other, and at the same time, they quickly attacked Ling Feng from 3 directions. Ling Feng sneered, slowly raised his right hand, and shook one of them in the air. The person who was originally running suddenly floated in the air, his face flushed. Seeing this, the other 2 stopped immediately and looked at Ling Feng in disbelief. Ling Feng exerted a little force with both hands, and the person who was caught in the air died immediately. Ling Feng's skill was developed based on the powerful mental power of his brain. When his brain was developed to 50%, Ling Feng found that his ability to control objects became stronger. Just now, he suddenly had an idea. Couldn't he use this trick to directly grab the enemy? Unexpectedly, this test was really successful. The effect of pretending to be cool was directly pulled to the maximum. The remaining 2 saw their companions being killed, and a trace of horror flashed in their eyes. What kind of superpower is this that can kill people invisibly? Terrible. Run away. This was the last thought of the 2. The 2 turned around and wanted to return to their leader. But Ling Feng would never give them this opportunity. He stretched out his hands at the same time, slightly grasped the air, and the 2 superpowers were strangled to death. Zhang Fatsai looked pale, and his eyes were full of panic. This guy is too strong. He killed a superpower with a wave of his hand. This guy must be a superpower. Oh my god! How dare I provoke a superpower? Zhang Zhibiao's eyes were red, and he looked at Ling Feng with resentment. He suddenly yelled, I will kill you. He rushed to Ling Feng quickly with a dagger in his hand, and stabbed Ling Feng's heart with the dagger. At the same time, the gravity field was running wildly to the limit. Ling Feng stood there with a calm face. The dagger in Zhang Zhibiao's hand was about to pierce Ling Feng's chest, and he couldn't help but reveal a crazy smile. Chapter 109. But the next second his smile froze. His body could not get close to Ling Feng's body at all. Ling Feng stood in front of him, with a hint of sneer on his lips. Zhang Zhibiao stabbed Ling Feng with a crazy look on his face, but it still didn't work. A feeling of powerlessness came over him, and his eyes were full of despair. I won't let you go even if I become a ghost, Zhang Zhibiao said, with resentment. Ling Feng didn't talk nonsense with him, frowned slightly, and directly used mental power to kill him completely. After dealing with Zhang Zhibiao, Ling Feng walked towards Zhang Fatsai leisurely. Zhang Fatsai was so scared that his legs and feet were weak, and his eyes were full of fear. Seeing Ling Feng walking towards him, he was so scared that he peed and shit, and his legs softened, and he knelt down. Brother, it's a misunderstanding, Zhang Fatsai said, with a flattering smile. Misunderstanding? What misunderstandings? Ling Feng asked with a playful look on his face. I just believed the rumors of that bastard Zhang Zhibiao, so I dared to attack you. If I knew you were so powerful, I wouldn't dare to do it even if I had 10,000 courage. Ling Feng took out a lotus from his arms, lit it, and slowly exhaled the smoke. Looking at Zhang Fatsai, who was kneeling on the ground, he said indifferently, If you want to live, it depends on whether you have the sincerity. Zhang Fatsai's expression stagnated, and he immediately reacted and said hurriedly, Yes, yes, yes. I am absolutely sincere, Zhang Fatsai said as he took out a fist-sized ore from his chest pocket, which was the supernatural ore. Ling Feng's expression moved, and he immediately took the ore from his hand and examined it carefully. It was indeed a supernatural ore. Ling Feng checked it through his mental power and indeed felt that there was a very strong energy in it. Ling Feng stared at Zhang Fatsai, narrowed his eyes, and asked, "Is this the only one?" Zhang Fatsai laughed dryly and explained, "It's really just this one. Each of us psychics just use one piece, and there is only one left." Ling Feng stared at Zhang Fatsai with a sharp look. Zhang Fatsai couldn't help but tremble in his heart. A layer of fine sweat also appeared on his forehead. Ling Feng's expression turned cold instantly. Zhang Fatsai's expression tightened when he saw this, and he took out another piece of ore from his pocket and handed it to Ling Feng. Ling Feng's expression eased a little, and after checking the stone and finding no problem, he put it away. "Are you sure there is no more?" Ling Feng looked at Zhang Fatsai with a sharp look again. Zhang Fatsai knelt on the ground with a sad face and said sincerely, "It's gone. I swear to God. It's really gone this time. How did you find this ore?" Ling Feng continued to ask. Zhang Fatsai said a little embarrassedly, that we snatched it from the hands of those small bases and the superpowers. When we entered this mine, we happened to see that they had her in their hands, so we snatched it, not getting the information he wanted. Ling Feng turned around and left, saying as he walked, "I'll spare your life this time for the sake of the ore. If I see you again, it won't be so easy." Before leaving, he took away the crystals of several superpowers on the ground. "I don't dare, never again," Zhang Fatsai said with a face that he had survived a disaster. After Ling Feng walked away, Zhang Fatsai slowly stood up, and a group of younger brothers beside him hurriedly surrounded him. "Alliance leader, are you okay? Alliance leader, are we still going to take revenge? It's so aggrieved." "Shut up," Zhang Fatsai shouted coldly. The group of younger brothers below immediately shut up. Zhang Fatsai immediately returned to the high and mighty appearance of the Alliance leader. He said in a deep voice, "You bastards, why didn't you say this when I was kneeling there? Now you are talking to me after the fact? Also, no one is allowed to tell anyone about this today. If anyone dares to leak the secret, I will skin him alive. Notify everyone now and go home." After speaking, he took the lead and walked out. Zhang Fatsai sighed in his heart. "I finally got my life back, and you guys still want me to take revenge. Do you think I am too old? I must stay away from this evil god in the future, and it is best not to meet him again." After leaving the mine where Zhang Fatsai was, Ling Feng found a secluded place. He took out the superpower ore from the space. He just used the space's replication system to upgrade the ore 100 times. He now has 6 superpower ores in his hand. The moment he got the ore, his body produced an extremely strong desire to devour. Ling Feng controlled this energy to slowly enter his body, and a warm current gradually filled his whole body. Then the whole body gradually became hot, and finally the whole body exuded bursts of white mist. The blood flow rate in the body was also constantly accelerating, and a layer of black, sticky substance gradually seeped out of the skin. However, the whole process did not cause pain. On the contrary, Ling Feng felt very comfortable and his whole body was warm. 15 minutes later, Ling Feng slowly opened his eyes. A turbid air was exhaled. Ling Feng got up and moved his body, feeling refreshed. The whole person was much lighter. After carefully feeling the changes in his body, he found that his perception ability was strengthened again. To his surprise, his eyes gained the ability of night vision. In the dark mine, he could see everything as clearly as in the daytime. In addition, his mental ability was strengthened again, and his brain development reached 55%, an increase of 5 percentage points. In terms of physical fitness, both speed and strength have been greatly improved. Ling Feng decided to go back and test his current strength. Looking at the remaining 5 super energy ores in the space, Ling Feng felt that the number was a bit small. Of course, the more of this kind of heaven-defying ore, the better. Even if he can't use it up, he can give it to his brothers and wife. After all, Wang Long and Lin Su are too weak now, and they can't help him too much. After he goes back this time, he must help them improve their strength. After a simple adaptation to the body, Ling Feng set out again to explore new mines. Now he is full of desire for super energy ores. The further he goes, the more corpses Ling Feng finds. From ordinary people at the beginning to superpowered people at the end, but the crystals in the heads of these superpowered people have all been taken away. This makes Ling Feng very unhappy. Someone actually robbed his things. In addition, on some people's bodies, Ling Feng once again found bite marks belonging to animals. Judging from the shape of the wound, it is the same as the wound caused by the python bite before. Ling Feng was slightly surprised. Could there be a second giant python? Chapter 110. Ling Feng walked along the direction of the mine, walked for dozens of steps. A ray of light appeared in front of him. Ling Feng's expression changed slightly, and he quickened his pace and walked towards the light. After walking to the light, he saw a huge pit. In the pit, dozens of people were fighting. Ling Feng looked carefully at the battlefield and found that the two sides fighting were the Liu family and the storm base. At this time, the battle between the two sides had entered a white-hot stage. All the people on both sides were bloodshot, and the ground was full of dead bodies. The wet ground was all stained with blood. Zhao Wuji and Lu Wei were fighting fiercely at this time, and both of them had different degrees of casualties. However, from the perspective of injuries, Lu Wei looked more miserable, and the deep scar on his chest that could see the bone looked extremely horrified. The Liu family also suffered relatively more casualties. In addition to Lu Wei, only the superpowers were left struggling. The rest of the ordinary members were basically injured and could not hold on for long. It was only a matter of time before the people of Storm Base won. Zhao Wuji, who was fighting on the battlefield, caught a flaw in Lu Wei and used an iron mountain to hit Lu Wei's abdomen directly. Lu Wei was immediately knocked out dozens of meters and finally hit the wall of the pit. At this time, he vomited blood, his momentum was greatly reduced, and his breath was weak. Lu Wei looked at Zhao Wuji with gloomy eyes and angrily. Zhao Wuji, you despicable villain, you're a person from Storm Base, but you still use poison gas as a despicable means to harm others. Do you still have any shame? Zhao Wuji looked at Zhao Wuji with a sneer on his face and said carelessly, despicable? As long as you can get resources. What means do you care? What era is it now? Are you still pursuing fairness and justice? Uncle? Zhao Wuji looked at Lu Wei arrogantly. He has now grasped the victory, and the balance of victory has completely tilted towards him. He taunted Lu Wei. Hasn't our Lu Eri always been mighty and domineering? How come he has become a lost dog now? Lu Wei looked pale, bleeding too much from the wound on his chest, and the poisoning just now caused his body to consume too much energy. He panted and said angrily, Dare to openly attack my Liu family? Aren't you afraid of my Liu family's revenge? Zhao Wuji sneered when he heard this. Revenge? You are crazy. I killed you all. Who would know it was me? And everyone who entered the mine today must die. All the resources here belong only to our storm base. Zhao Wuji said fiercely. Lu Wei sneered and said, There are dozens of superpowers in this mine, and you can only rely on a few of you. Zhao Wuji laughed unscrupulously and mocked. How can you be so naive, Mr. Liu? Do you really think that only a few of us came to our storm base this time? He glanced at Lu Wei, whose expression suddenly changed, smiled faintly, and said confidently, The captain-level superpowers in our base have already blocked all the entrances, and no one can get out. Lu Wei looked bleak, looking at the wanton and arrogant Zhao Wuji, with a flash of determination in his eyes. As if he had made a decision, he suddenly stood up and took out a small green bottle from his arms. He glanced at the small green bottle with a cold expression, quickly unscrewed the bottle cap, and drank the liquid inside. Even if I die, I will let you be buried with me today. Lu Wei's eyes were full of madness. Zhao Wuji looked at Lu Wei with scarlet eyes, and it seemed that his mental state became a little excited. He couldn't help but put away his smile and looked at Lu Wei with a wary face. Lu Wei's pale face gradually turned red, and his aura was rising. Zhao Wuji, I gave up hope of life and took this violent serum. No one can leave alive today. Zhao Wuji looked at Lu Wei's changes with some surprise. What kind of potion is this that can give people such great energy when they are on the verge of death? Lu Wei seemed to see Zhao Wuji's doubts and said coldly, "This is a potion jointly developed by our Lu family and MK. The foundation of our Lu family will never be comparable to your storm base, so die." Lu Wei shouted and rushed towards Zhao Wuji suddenly. His speed was obviously much faster than before. He swung a punch and hit Zhao Wuji's face with such force that it brought up gusts of fist wind. Zhao Wuji's expression changed, and he did not dare to be arrogant. He quickly punched to resist, and his aura was also extraordinary. The fists of both sides collided quickly in the air. Crack! The sound of a bone breaking rang out. Zhao Wuji screamed and was instantly knocked into the air. Lu Wei took advantage of the victory and leaped up, punching Zhao Wuji's chest again in the air. Zhao Wuji's body instantly became shrimp-shaped, and the whole person was deeply smashed into the ground. Zhao Wuji's breath was weak at this moment. His entire chest was completely sunken, and the bones in front of his chest were smashed into pieces. Blood spurted out of his mouth, looking extremely miserable. Zhao Wuji supported himself on the ground with both hands and got up with difficulty. His expression was full of unwillingness. He didn't expect that his confident plan would end up with such an accident. With his current physical injuries, if it weren't for his ability to quickly recover his body, he would probably have really fallen today. Lu Wei looked at Zhao Wuji, who was still able to stand up, with an expression of disbelief. His previous punch didn't kill him. Zhao Wuji looked at Lu Wei with a smug look and said, "You didn't expect it. My super recovery ability is my trump card. You can't kill me." While speaking, the bones in his chest were slowly recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lu Wei's eyes were filled with anger, and he clenched his fists, ready to attack again. But the weakness from his body made him unable to stand steadily. His eyelids unconsciously wanted to close, and a strong sense of fatigue came over him, causing him to fall back suddenly. Zhao Wuji supported himself and walked to Lu Wei. Although his body had a strong recovery ability, Lu Wei's attack just now was very powerful. He couldn't fully recover for a while. When he came to Lu Wei, he sniffed his breath. He was happy. Lu Wei is dead. The greatest fighting force of the Lu family has died. This victory belongs to him. Although the process is not very good, it will be the same as long as the result remains unchanged. The battle on the field soon came to an end. The only remaining superpower of the Lu family was also killed by the people of the Storm Base, and the other ordinary members did not escape the fate of being slaughtered. Zhao Wuji was full of joy and began to organize his men to plunder the ores on the Lu family. Just as they were happily cleaning the battlefield, a huge figure quickly rushed out of the darkness. Chapter 111. The people in the Storm Base who were originally happily searching for supernatural ores suddenly trembled. Through the weak light, everyone saw a long shadow on the ground. Zhao Wuji hurriedly turned back to check. He immediately saw a scene that made his scalp numb. A huge green python. Half of its body was raised high, spitting out a long tongue, and a pair of scarlet and cold eyes like lanterns were staring at them. Above the python's head stood a familiar figure. Lu Sana. Zhao Wuji was shocked. Why is it him? Ling Feng, who was hiding in the distance and watching the battle, looked at Lu Sana, who appeared again, without a trace of surprise in his heart. He had long guessed that this mine treasure hunt was all a carefully planned game by Lu Sana. The only thing that surprised him was this giant python. This green giant python was even bigger than the one he just killed. The size of this giant python is estimated to be close to 100 meters, and it is much thicker than the previous one. It looks extremely terrifying. Ling Feng stood in the distance and continued to observe the development of the situation on the field. Zhao Wuji looked at Lu Sanha on the head of the giant python with an ugly expression and said coldly, "Lu Sanha, what do you want to do?" Lu Sanha smiled coldly. At this time, he no longer had the image of a kind and honest old man just now. Now his eyes are full of fierceness and his expression is full of cruelty. "Don't you understand what I'm doing? Of course, I'm going to kill you, a group of lowly dragon people. and provide nutrition for my Xiaoqing, Lu Sana said sinisterly. You are not a dragon? Zhao Wuji asked with a shocked face. Lu Sana said proudly. How could I be a lowly dragon countryman? I am Japanese. My real name is Kamadai Jiro. I have been dormant in dragon country for many years, just to destroy everything in your dragon country. I didn't expect that with the blessing of Amaterasu, I actually awakened the ability to communicate with strange beasts after the end of the world. This giant python is my partner. His strength is comparable to that of a superpowered person. As long as he can absorb the crystals in your body this time, I believe Xiaoqing will be able to improve again. I will definitely take Xiaoqing with me to wipe out all the power people in your dragon country. Ha! We Japanese will eventually rule, you lowly dragon countrymen, Kamadai Jiro said with a crazy look on his face. Zhao Wuji looked gloomy and uncertain. I didn't expect that Lu Sanha was actually Japanese. All of this was a conspiracy. When I thought about the victory I won with heavy losses, it turned out to be a joke in the end. Thinking of this, Zhao Wuji was furious and immediately yelled at Kamadai Jiro. Only you Japanese can do such despicable and shameless things. You wretched and shameless Japanese want to rule our dragon country. Dream on. My storm base's strong men will be here soon. Then you and your little snake will die. Kamadai Jiro smiled cruelly, patted the python's head, and said, Xiaoqing, it's time to hunt. Leave a live one. I want to treat them well. The python twisted its huge body and quickly crawled towards Zhao Wuji. Zhao Wuji looked at the giant python coming quickly. His pupils trembled slightly. He hurried to one side, but his injury from the battle just now had not healed, so his speed was too slow. Although the giant python was huge, its speed was extremely fast. In a breath, it caught up and directly entangled Zhao Wuji tightly. Under the strong pressure of the giant python, Zhao Wuji's bones were crushed into pieces. The whole person was like a puddle of mud and was thrown aside by the giant python. Zhao Wuji's expression was distorted, and the huge pain made his body feel like it was cut into pieces. After the giant python severely injured Zhao Wuji, it continued to quickly slaughter other members of the storm base. Ordinary base members were swallowed whole by the giant python. This horrible scene made the remaining base members look pale, and they ran out of the mine one by one. However, Kamadai Jiro obviously couldn't let them go. Kamadai Jiro held a samurai sword and killed the fleeing base members crazily. With the cooperation of one man and one snake, the members of the storm base were quickly slaughtered. The other two psychics were also broken by the giant python in the same way, lying on the ground screaming. Kamadai Jiro walked up to several psychics, took out a dagger from his body, and smiled cruelly. I will do a few small experiments on you and let you die in extreme pain. Zhao Wuji and others were horrified. They had heard about perverts before. Their torture methods were cruel and inhumane. Kamadai Jiro looked at the fearful expressions on the faces of these people, and the excitement in his eyes flashed. Just when he was about to take action, a brisk footsteps came from behind. Kamadai Jiro turned his head to check. He saw Ling Feng walking towards him with lazy steps. Kamadai Jiro looked at Ling Feng with a cold expression and sneered. I almost forgot that there was such a person as you. But since you fell into the trap, it saved me from looking for you. Ling Feng said calmly. I stood there and watched for a long time. It was really more exciting than a movie. I didn't expect you to be a Japanese. I was wondering why there was always a hint of vulgarity in your temperament. Now I finally understand. Kamadai Jiro's mouth curled up slightly. You are about to die, but you are still so shameless. You will become my test subject like the three of them later. Xiaoqing. The giant python was summoned, and its huge head stretched out in front of him. Catch this guy. I want to make him live a life worse than death. Jiro Kamadai said coldly. The blue giant python swayed its body and quickly crawled towards Ling Feng. The giant python used its nearly 100-meter-long body to surround Ling Feng, trying to wrap him up again. Ling Feng's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. When he appeared again the next second, he had already arrived at the head of the giant python. He clenched his right fist, and the green, strange fire wrapped his fist tightly. Ling Feng punched the giant python's eyes. Sizzle! The giant python's eyes were immediately blown up by Ling Feng's punch, and at the same time, a burnt smell came from the position of the eyes. The giant python felt pain and made a hissing sound. At the same time, it swung its huge snake tail and fiercely whipped Ling Feng's body. Ling Feng dodged the giant python's violent whipping with a teleportation. The giant python with only one eye left attacked Ling Feng frantically, but was dodged by Ling Feng's flexible and agile body. Kamadai Jiro, who was watching the battle not far away, was shocked. Ling Feng's strength exceeded his expectations, and Ling Feng easily injured Xiao Qing's eyes. Seeing Xiao Qing injured, he was so angry that his eyes were about to burst. He spent a lot of effort to cultivate this giant python, and now one of its eyes was blinded. How could he not feel distressed? He drew the samurai sword from his waist and rushed quickly to the back of Ling Feng. Chapter 112. Ling Feng, who was playing with the giant python, felt something in his heart. He teleported to avoid the attack of Kamadai Jiro. You can't beat him, so you sneak attack. You are worthy of being a little bastard. Ling Feng laughed mercilessly. Kamadai Jiro was furious, holding the sword with both hands, raising the samurai sword in his hand high, bringing gusts of sword wind, and slashing at Ling Feng again. Ling Feng directly fought with Kamadai Jiro. Kamadai Jiro was blown away dozens of meters, and his body hit the wall of the mine directly, breaking more than a dozen ribs. After dealing with Xiao Rizi casually, Ling Feng continued to swing his fists and fight with the giant python. Relying on the speed advantage, he blew up the other eye of the giant python again. The blinded giant python swung its body and attacked randomly in the pit, and its mouth was still roaring. The walls of the mine were shaken slightly, and small stones kept falling. Looking at the giant python that had lost its mind and was attacking crazily, Ling Feng looked calm. He teleported to the top of the giant python again and punched the top of the giant python with his right fist. The giant python screamed, and its huge body fell to the ground. A huge cloud of dust was raised. Kamadai Jiro, who was lying on the ground watching the battle not far away, looked extremely horrified, and his eyes were full of panic when he looked at Ling Feng. A beast with a stronger combat power than a superpowered person was easily killed by Ling Feng. What level of power is this Ling Feng? Is he a king-level power who is stronger than a superpowered person? There are probably not many power people of this level in the entire Handong area. Why did he meet him? Zhao Wuji, who was lying on the ground, was also shocked. This person's strength is almost comparable to the combat power of the base leader. In fact, Ling Feng's strength is even stronger than that of the leader of their base. Such a powerful psychic dared to provoke him in the morning and was ready to kill him. It's really like looking for a lantern in a toilet. Ling Feng came to Kamadai Jiro and said calmly, "Where's the remaining psychic ore? If you tell me, I can give you a quick death." Kamadai Jiro glanced at Ling Feng and smiled disdainfully. "If you want to know the location of the ore, just give up this idea." Ling Feng smiled faintly. "Don't worry. If you don't tell me, I have a way." Ling Feng took out a pair of pliers from the space. He looked at Kamadai Jiro with a gloomy face. "What do you want to do? Don't come over here," Kamadai Jiro said with horror. Ling Feng grabbed one of his hands and directly pulled off the nail of one of his hands with pliers. Ah! The miserable scream spread all over the pit, and it looked extremely terrifying in the dim light. "I won't tell you. I won't let the superpowers of your dragon country use thee or to become stronger." Kamadai Jiro gritted his teeth and said. Ling Feng had no expression on his face and continued to pull out his nails. Another scream came. I have to say that Xiao Ri is quite patient. Ling Feng pulled out 6 of his nails in a row, and he didn't confess. There was another time when he fainted because the pain was too intense. Ling Feng gave him an injection of adrenaline to help him stay awake. When it came to the 7th nail, Kamadai Jiro finally couldn't help it. He told the hidden place of the superpower ore. In order to prevent him from lying, Ling Feng decided to take him to find it together. Before leaving, He collected all the crystals of the superpowers on the ground, and this green giant python was taken away by him. In addition, Ling Feng found 2 more pieces of supernatural ores on the people in the storm base. After doing all this, Ling Feng came to Zhao Wuji's side. At this time, Zhao Wuji looked at Ling Feng with eyes that were no longer rebellious at the beginning. He trembled. "I was blind before, please spare me." Ling Feng smiled faintly and sent him off with a palm. Then he killed the other 2 supernaturals and took away their crystals. After cleaning up the battlefield, Ling Feng picked up Kamadai Jiro and walked towards the hiding place of supernatural ores. According to Kamadai Jiro's confession, the number of supernatural ores was very small, and he had already dug them up in advance. Now what these supernaturals found were all placed by him in advance, just to let these supernaturals kill each other for the ore. Soon Ling Feng brought Kamadai Jiro to the hiding place he mentioned. The place where the ore was hidden was very hidden, and ordinary people could not find it at all. The ore was buried by Kamadai Jiro at a depth of 1 meter underground. Ling Feng dug up the ground. As expected, he saw a wooden box. Ling Feng took the wooden box out of the pit to check. After opening the box, Ling Feng saw the supernatural ore. He counted it, and there were about 5 pieces in total. Ling Feng was ecstatic, including the ones in his hand. He now has 8 supernatural ores. This trip to the mine was really fruitful. Not only did he harvest supernatural ores, but also a large number of supernatural crystals. If he absorbed all of these, his strength would definitely reach a terrifying level. After getting the ore, Kamadai Jiro was no longer valuable and was killed by Ling Feng with a casual slap. After that, Ling Feng conducted a carpet search of the entire mine. Unfortunately, he did not find any useful resources. Ling Feng returned to the ground and saw several corpses next to the pit on the ground. Ling Feng guessed that these people should be the backers of the storm base, but all of them were killed by the blue giant python. The crystals have been taken away. Ling Feng looked around the mine. At this time, the Wangzhuang mine was pitch black, and it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. Ling Feng was the only one left in the entire mine. Ling Feng took out the all-terrain snowmobile from the space and prepared to drive away. Ling Feng started the car and turned on the high beam of the vehicle. Just as he was about to leave, several figures in the distance moved quickly towards him. The first one was a middle-aged man in a Tang suit, about 40 years old, with a square face. His face was somewhat similar to Lu Wei, but his momentum was much stronger than Lu Wei. After the middle-aged man saw the car lights, he instantly accelerated his pace and soon came to a distance of 100 meters from Ling Feng. Ling Feng ignored these people and stepped on the accelerator directly. The car was driving at a high speed with a huge roar, and the car whizzed past the group of people, bringing up a burst of ice and snow. The middle-aged man looked at the direction the car left and frowned slightly. There was actually a car in this remote place in the middle of the night, and it appeared in the mine. This made him doubt it. After thinking for a moment, the middle-aged man withdrew his thoughts and brought the others to the mine entrance of Wangzhuang Mine. Chapter 113. Wangzhuang Mine. In the deepest part of the mine, Lu Wu looked at the dead Lu Wei and the Lu family superpowers. His face was extremely gloomy. Deep in his heart, he was even more sad. Lu Wei, his younger brother, had discussed the resources of this mine together just a few days ago. Now when they meet again, it's this scene. The 5 brothers of the Lu family have been close since childhood. Lu Wei is the youngest of the 5 brothers and is deeply loved by the other brothers. Unexpectedly, their most beloved brother died tragically in this dark mine. He checked Lu Wei's body and found that he had used violent serum before his death. Who could force his younger brother, a superpower, to die with him at the cost of his life? This person is so brave that he dared to kill people from their Lu family. Could it be someone from the storm base? Or was it the person who just drove the car? Lu Wu couldn't figure out who the murderer was for a while. Lu Wu ordered his men to start looking for clues in the entire mine. As the search area expanded, Lu Wu's mood became heavier and heavier. A total of more than 100 bodies were found in the entire mine. All the people brought by their Lu family this time, were wiped out. In addition to their Lu family, there were also bodies from the Storm base and other unknown bases. In addition to the human bodies, there was actually a giant python body with hundreds of large and small wounds all over the body of the giant python. There were traces of burning on each wound. Such a huge python must be a mutated beast. Even if the head of the family comes, it is not easy to deal with a beast of this size. The person who killed the giant python must be a super strong man with fire-related superpowers. Now there is no survivor here. The only survivor is the person who just drove the car. Lu Wu decided to take people to find the mysterious man just now. If he is really the murderer, even if I have to sacrifice all my Lu family's resources, I will make you pay with blood. Lu Wu looked gloomy and his eyes were fierce. Lu Wu brought several Lu family's superpowers to the mine. Following the wheel marks left by the car, they chased all the way. At the same time, the Kai family in Jinling also got the news. Jinling City. In a luxurious manner, a middle-aged man of about 50 years old sat on the armchair with a serious face and dim eyes. Below him stood a group of men in black, each of whom had a firm expression and cold eyes. At first glance, they were well-trained and fierce people. The middle-aged man was named Kai Haonan, the current head of the Kai family and the actual ruler of Jinling City today. Just now, he got a sad news from the Lu family. His son Ji Kuan was killed today. Ji Kuan was his most beloved son and the most outstanding supernatural person of the younger generation in the family. The murderer knew that Ji Kuan was from their Kai family, but he still killed him. He didn't take their Kai family seriously at all. This was simply a naked provocation, pressing his Kai Haonan's face to the ground and rubbing it hard. This was the first time someone dared to touch their Kai family. Kai Haonan narrowed his eyes slightly. Although he didn't say anything, all the black-clothed people standing below felt the anger of the head of the family. Now that the young master of the Kai family was killed, the head of the family would definitely avenge the young master and take very cruel means. Storm Base. The leader of the base, who was sleeping soundly, was awakened by a rapid knock on the door. Chun Ginyan opened the door with a somewhat unhappy look on his face. At night, what he hated most was being disturbed by others when he was resting. So he had a very strict rule that no one was allowed to disturb his rest unless it was a very urgent matter. Chun Ginyan saw that the person knocking on the door was Gu Fei, the captain of the special brigade of his base. Gu Fei was his most trusted subordinate, and also a powerful supernatural being who was very loyal to him. Gu Fei was wearing a tight, short-sleeved shirt with explosive muscles that made his clothes bulge. His dark skin and well-defined muscles made him look very capable. Gu Fei looked a little anxious at this time. Not long ago, several supernatural teams they sent to compete for resources at Wangzhuang Mine in Shangjing City lost contact. A few hours ago, Zhao Wuji reported to him through a satellite phone that the operation was very smooth. There was no news for a few hours afterwards, and the satellite phone could not be dialed. Gu Fei told Chun Ginyan about this matter as soon as possible after hearing Gu Fei's report. Chun Ginyan also realized the seriousness of the matter. This team may have suffered a serious danger, or even been killed. Chun Ginyan thought for a moment and said, "You should send a team to search overnight to confirm whether they are still alive. If they have been killed, find the murderer." Gu Fei nodded and said, "Yes, I will send someone there right away." Could this incident be done by the Lu family? We have dispatched nearly 10 superpowers. Such a team can easily destroy a medium-sized base. Who else but the Lu family can rush to all this? Chun Gungyan's eyes were sharp, as if he was thinking, and he said in a low voice, "It's not clear yet, so don't jump to conclusions. Wait until the results of the investigation come out. If it's really the Lu family, I won't let my brothers die in vain. Send someone to investigate first." "Yes." After Gu Fei left, Chun Gingyan's face turned extremely ugly. Every superpower is a rare talent. Losing so many superpowers at once is a headache for him. But they dared to kill so many of him, and they were really brave. They are not easy to mess with the Storm Base. Gu Fei left Chun Gungyan's residence and came to the residence of the Special Brigade. Several squadron leaders were urgently summoned to discuss countermeasures. Several squadron leader-level superpowers sat at the table in the conference room with serious expressions. Zhao Wuji, like them, is a squadron leader-level superpower, and now he has lost contact. It seems that the enemy's strength this time cannot be underestimated. One of the young men with a medium build and a fair face said in a sad tone, "I apply to join this investigation. I have a good relationship with Wuji. I must go to see Wuji this time." Gu Fei nodded. "Okay, but Zhang Tsong, you must be careful in everything you do. Don't be impulsive and cause unnecessary casualties. In addition, I will give you 2 more superpowers to strengthen your team." Gu Fei explained some precautions before ending the meeting. Zhang Tsong led 7 superpowers to drive snowmobiles at full speed to Shangjing City. Zhang Tsong's face was gloomy. The death of his friend made him very sad. At the same time, the anger in his heart made him look murderous. Chapter 114. Time goes back to a few hours ago. Ling Feng drove the snowmobile at full speed towards home. Ling Feng was in a very good mood along the way. Today's harvest exceeded his expectations. In just one day, his strength has made great progress. Now he can completely beat himself in the morning. But today's experience also made him gradually understand a truth. That is, it is not enough to rely on the strength of one person. The main theme of the future end of the world must be base civilization. The collapse of social order has shaped the base civilization. The future society must be composed of base civilizations. These bases are basically led by superpowers and have their own weapons. It's like the ancient princes who occupied one side. The further you go, the scarcer the resources will be, and the more conflicts between bases will be. Whoever has more superpowers will take the initiative and win in the future resource competition. Bases with low strength can only be plundered. Survival in the future will be even more cruel. Ling Feng also made a decision in his heart. He wanted to build his own power. It is impossible to survive in this doomsday by fighting alone. There will be endless troubles. Therefore, a strong power is necessary to survive in the future doomsday. The second benefit of creating a base is that more people can help you find resources. The improvement of your own strength requires more resources, ores, and crystals of superpowers. These all need someone to help you find them. The massive resources in your hands can completely build a large base. While Ling Feng was driving, he was planning his future plans in his heart. The car soon came to the vicinity of the villa area, and Ling Feng gradually relaxed his vigilance. The speed of the car also gradually slowed down. Suddenly, a huge pothole suddenly appeared in front of the road, and Ling Feng hurriedly stepped on the brakes. The car slid 3 meters in the emergency brake before slowly stopping. After the car stopped, Ling Feng opened the door and got out to check the situation. Just then, dozens of figures rushed out from both sides of the road. In just a few seconds, they surrounded Ling Feng tightly. A man in a windbreaker walked into the crowd. He was holding a cigar, combing his hair back, and looked like a big brother in society. The man's slender eyes examined Ling Feng, like a venomous snake staring at its prey, full of gloom. "Ling Feng, we finally meet?" the man said in a cold tone. Ling Feng raised his eyebrows and asked with some doubts, "Who are you?" The man smiled coldly and said coldly, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Wang Chong, the person in charge of MK Company in Shangjing City." Ling Feng said lightly with a look of realization. "Oh, I understand. I have dealt with your people several times before, and I have a good impression of them." Wang Chong listened to Ling Feng's sarcastic words, and his expression became even more gloomy. If it weren't for Ling Feng, he wouldn't have gotten into this situation now. If he couldn't complete the task assigned by the superiors this time, he would have to accept the punishment from the superiors and become a test subject. When he thought of this, he felt uneasy. No matter what, he must take down Ling Feng and find the gene serum today. Wang Chong narrowed his eyes slightly and said fiercely, "Ling Feng, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the gene serum and experimental data, and I can spare your life." Ling Feng chuckled when he heard this, as if he heard a funny joke. Ling Feng glanced at the dozens of people who surrounded him and said with disdain, "Just relying on you guys, you still want to threaten me? I think you have shit in your brain." Wang Chang glanced at Ling Feng and said coldly, "Arrogant, take him down." As soon as Wang Gang finished speaking, dozens of armed genetic warriors attacked Ling Feng at the same time. Ling Feng took out the Tang's sword. He didn't want to participate in this level of battle anymore. It was really a waste of his time. But since the enemy has come, he can't help but kill them. Ling Feng held the Tang sword and quickly shuttled through the crowd. A flash of sword light flashed, and this group of MK Company's elites were killed by Ling Feng, like cutting melons and vegetables. In just 2 seconds, only Ling Feng was left on the field. The ground was full of broken limbs and arms, and there was not a single complete body. Wang Chang couldn't believe the scene in front of him. It was only a short time, and he had just finished speaking, and dozens of people were gone. Originally, he thought Ling Feng was very strong, but he didn't expect it to be so strong. However, Wang Chang was not panicked at all. He looked at Ling Feng with a smile on his face, with a smug look on his face. "Ling Feng, I admit that you are very strong, but you still can't get away today. Come out." As soon as he finished speaking, 8 huge, muscular giants rushed out from behind the surrounding buildings. Each of these people was extremely tall, reaching more than 2 meters, and their thick muscles looked very exaggerated. "My 8 gene warriors have been injected with the latest serum produced by our company. Their strength is comparable to that of superpowers. Let's see how you can resist." Wang Chang's tone was full of confidence. Ling Feng smiled disdainfully. "I thought there were some powerful weapons, but in the end it was still this boring thing." Ling Feng put away the Tang Dao. "It should be more fun to fight such a muscular giant with your hands." Ling Feng hooked his finger at the 8 gene warriors. "Come here." The 8 gene warriors frowned and rushed towards Ling Feng with anger. Ling Feng waved his hand gently at the 8 people who were running towards him, and the 8 people were lifted up in the air. Floating in the air, unable to move, Ling Feng walked to one of them with a lazy step, stretched out his right hand. The green flame surrounded his palm. He slapped him in the face, and the gene warrior was slapped away. At the same time, a raging fire ignited on his body, and he was burned to ashes in just a few seconds. The other gene warriors were frightened by Ling Feng's strange attack and turned pale and trembling. Ling Feng did the same attack on the others without hesitation. Ling Feng easily dealt with several people like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves. Wang Chang was already scared by Ling Feng's attack, and his hand holding the cigar was shaking. Ling Feng's strength was too terrifying. He was actually a superpower. He swallowed subconsciously and said with a look of horror, "I didn't expect you to be a superpower." Ling Feng looked at him indifferently and came to him in an instant. He grabbed his neck and lifted him up high. "Where is your company's office? Take me there now. If you don't want to die, you'd better be honest." Wang Chang was so scared that he nodded and agreed. Ling Feng threw him into the passenger seat of the car and drove towards MK Company. Chapter 115. Ling Feng brought Wang Chang to MK's base in Shanjing City. Ling Feng's purpose was very simple. If you want to cut the grass, you must get rid of the roots. This time, he wanted to eradicate all the people in the entire MK Company. MK had been looking for trouble with him again and again, which made him very annoyed. Although their fighting ability was not good, it was really disgusting to watch. He really couldn't appreciate the taste of this beautiful country. Looking at an ordinary civilian house in front of him, a trace of surprise flashed in Ling Feng's eyes. I didn't expect their base to be so hidden. Ordinary people really couldn't guess that there was a pharmaceutical company inside. Ling Feng held Wang Chang in his left hand and walked towards the civilian house. The 2 people standing guard at the door saw Wang Chang being held in the hands of a stranger and wanted to come over to ask. Ling Feng teleported directly, without any nonsense, and slapped his right hand directly, and the 2 were directly slapped into a pile of minced meat. They were all ordinary people. Facing Ling Feng's attack, their bodies were as fragile as tofu. Wang Chang, who was held in Ling Feng's hand, was frightened and trembled violently when he saw this scene. After the two entered the room, they took the elevator to the underground shelter. Ling Feng kicked open the door of the shelter, and dozens of MK company members inside the door looked at the door in unison. One of the bald men with a naked upper body looked at the strange man who suddenly broke in and shouted angrily, "Who are you? You dare to come to us? You are very brave." Ling Feng's mouth curled up slightly. He teleported directly in front of the bald man, slapped him on the face, and the strange fire burned him to ashes. The rest of the people looked at the scene in front of them with horror. A person who was still alive just now turned into ashes in the blink of an eye. They looked at Ling Feng with fear in their eyes. After killing one person, Ling Feng began a crazy killing mode. The whole shelter became a purgatory. After being touched by Ling Feng's strange fire, everyone turned into a ball of fire and burned the last of their beauty. The Jin warriors, who were unattainable in the eyes of ordinary people, were like ants in Ling Feng's hands and could be easily destroyed. However, in just a few dozen breaths, only Ling Feng and Wang Chong were left in the huge shelter. Wang Chong looked at the empty shelter, and there was no light in his eyes. All the company's foundation in Shanjing City was destroyed today, and even he could not escape the fate of being slaughtered. Ling Feng came to Wang Chong. His expression was silent, and there was no emotional fluctuation in his eyes. Wang Chong suddenly screamed loudly with a crazy look on his face. "It's useless for you to kill me. The company has been eyeing you for a long time. Even if you destroy this place, the people in the headquarters will not let you go." Ling Feng's pupils shrank slightly, and there was finally a change on his face. "Oh, where is your headquarters?" Wang Chong sneered and said, "The water in the headquarters is very deep. You can't grasp it. There are so many masters inside. Even if you go there, you will die. And the headquarters in China is just an empty shell. Even I don't know the real core place." Ling Feng waved his palm and burned him to ashes directly. "You have been talking for a long time, but you didn't say anything." Ling Feng complained speechlessly. Next, Ling Feng began the tongue-licking search mode. In the laboratory of MK Company, Ling Feng found all kinds of strange genetic reagents. There are also some biological and chemical weapons, specimens of human experiments. There are even some baby limbs. From their experimental record books, Ling Feng found their experimental records of experimental dissection of living people. There are also experimental records of various bacterial weapons. These people really died too easily. Ling Feng was furious in his heart. This group of unscrupulous bastards actually did such a dehumanizing thing. This MK company really deserves to die. Ling Feng put all the records of these experiments into the space. This MK company disguised itself as a pharmaceutical company in China, and all the evil deeds it has done will be paid back sooner or later. After Ling Feng collected all the things that could be used in the shelter, he burned the entire shelter to ashes. After doing all this, when Ling Feng returned to the ground, it was already 5 o'clock in the morning, and the sky gradually became brighter. Ling Feng got in the car and started his return journey. This time there were no more accidents, and the car drove safely all the way to the gate of the community. Several sentinels standing guard at the gate saw a car coming and hurriedly pulled up the guardrail. However, when the sentinel saw Ling Feng's face, he immediately saluted Ling Feng and then let the car go. When the car drove to the gate of the villa, Chen Shan, who was responsible for the defense of the villa, walked up quickly and took the initiative to help Ling Feng open the car door. Just now, the sentry at the door informed him that Ling Xiao's car had entered and asked him to pay attention. After Ling Feng got out of the car, he looked at Chen Shan with a smile and said, "You've been working hard here every day." Chen Shan immediately stood up straight and said seriously, "This is what I should do." Ling Feng patted his shoulder and entered the villa. In the living room, Lin Su fell asleep on the sofa with a pillow in her arms, and there was a table full of dishes on the table. Ling Feng quietly walked to the sofa and squatted slowly. Lin Su, who was sleeping soundly, seemed to be awakened and opened her eyes. After seeing Ling Feng, she immediately woke up and hugged him. she said with a slightly anxious tone. Why did you come back so late? I was so anxious. I called you on the satellite phone, but you didn't answer. Ling Feng patted her shoulder and comforted her softly. I was delayed by something today, and my phone is on silent. You haven't eaten yet. I'll go heat up the food for you. After saying that, Lin Su got up and went to the kitchen to work. After a busy day, Ling Feng leaned on the sofa and closed his eyes to rest. He kept thinking about the construction of the base in his mind, and now the final thing is to improve his strength. He now has a lot of resources, and his strength can definitely be improved again. In addition to himself, Wang Long and Lin Su's strength must also be improved quickly. There are also a group of special forces under his command. Although they are all elite soldiers who have experienced hundreds of battles, they are still not enough to face the superpowers. A gene serum must be developed as soon as possible to help them improve their strength. In this way, the base he built can be stable and fearless of any invasion by any force. Just as Ling Feng was thinking, the aroma of delicious food kept drifting into Ling Feng's nose. Ling Feng, who was already hungry, kept rumbling in his stomach. Soon, Lin Su served delicious dishes to the table. Ling Feng, who hadn't eaten for a day, sat down and ate without any image. After eating and drinking, Ling Feng's fatigue of the day was swept away. Even though he didn't sleep for a night, he still didn't feel sleepy at all and had unlimited energy. However, under Lin Su's strong request, Ling Feng still reluctantly went upstairs with Lin Su. Chapter 116. Lu Wu searched along the wheel marks left by the Ling Feng snowmobile. Finally, he came to the vicinity of the Zizouin villa. Lu Wu was delighted. After a night of searching, it was now dawn, and he finally found it. The faces of several superpowers around him were a little tired. They had rushed all the way to the Wangzhuang mine, but before they could rest, they continued to rush on the road to look for clues. Originally, they drove here, but the car suddenly stalled halfway, so they had to walk. Otherwise, they would not chase other people's cars with their two legs. Just when Lu Wu thought he was about to reach the final destination, reality played a joke on him again. The tire marks of the car changed direction in front of a big pit. Return again! What was even more strange was that there were dozens of incomplete corpses densely packed on the ground. Lu Wu looked at the corpses on the ground with a solemn expression. All these corpses were killed by a knife. This means that the one who killed these people was a knife expert. Not only that, from the expressions of these people, they died very close to each other. In a very short period of time, dozens of people were killed cleanly and neatly. Even he couldn't do it. This person's strength is so terrifying. You should know that he is a superpower user, and he is also a transcendent existence among power users. Even more terrifying than his strength. What level of power user is this person? Lu Wu couldn't help but take a breath. The power user next to him also saw Lu Wu's serious fear. He couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Second Master, should we continue to search? Lu Wu looked gloomy, but he thought for a moment and still said, Chase, we must find out the truth of the matter. All this may be a trick. Keep going. The other power users all looked at each other helplessly and continued to move in the opposite direction. Lu Wu and several others rushed for 2 hours again and finally arrived at a house in the suburbs. The group thought they had reached their destination, but after a careful look, they found that the car only left a trace on the ground and finally left in another direction. Finally, one of the Lu family's superpowers couldn't help but complain. Second Master, we haven't been discovered. That person deliberately took us for a walk and played tricks on us. Lu Wu's expression was also gloomy at this time. Could it be that his traces were discovered? But after thinking about it carefully, it seemed unlikely. After all, they started following several hours later, and they were still walking, so the other party couldn't find them. The other party came here very likely for other things. Lu Wu said coldly, No, we can't be discovered. Keep looking, don't complain. I know everyone is very tired. After completing this mission, I will take you to relax. When several superpowers heard this, their eyes lit up instantly, and their dissatisfaction just now disappeared. After a brief rest and some dry food, they continued their search. It took another hour and a half for Lu Wu and his men to finally return to the previous street. Lu Wu was so angry that his face turned green. After going around in a big circle, he came back again. Now he couldn't help but suspect that the driver did it on purpose. Fortunately, the wheel marks finally disappeared at the entrance of a villa area. The entrance was also closely guarded by soldiers in military uniforms. Lu Wu stared at the entrance of the villa in the distance, frowning, looking a little irritated. I didn't expect this person to be from the military. It seems that things are a bit complicated. Second Master, should we go over and get some information? Let's find a place to rest first. We can't alert the enemy. I will report this matter to the head of the family and let him make the decision, Lu Wu said after a moment of hesitation. Ling Feng stretched his waist and got up from the bed refreshed. After a simple 3-hour rest with Lin Su, I felt much better. After getting up, Ling Feng immediately called Wang Long and asked him to come over. Soon Wang Long came in a hurry. As soon as he arrived at the villa, Wang Long lay on the sofa like Guyu and kept shouting, "Too tired. It's too tiring to lead these soldiers. More tiring than when we were in the army before." Ling Feng looked at Wang Long. Although he shouted tired, his eyes were full of excitement and determination. There was no laziness and negativity in the past. Ling Feng took out a piece of the Supreme 9-5 and threw it on Wang Long. Sitting down on the sofa next to Wang Long, he lit a bottle of Supreme 9-5 and said casually, "How about leading this group of soldiers? Can you control them?" Wang Long raised his eyebrows, also lit a bottle, and said confidently, "You are still not confident in my work. Yesterday, I treated them all obediently. I dealt with a few troublemakers, and now these guys are very honest." "Yeah." Ling Feng nodded, and then continued to ask, "How much is your physical fitness now? Has it reached the limit of 100? This is still a little short." Wang Long scratched his head and said with a dry laugh, "How much is it?" "About 60. You call this a little short?" Ling Feng looked at Wang Long speechlessly. Wang Long is just too lazy, and his improvement speed is too slow. Not even as good as Lin Su, whose current level is almost 90. It is estimated that it will soon reach the limit of 100. In contrast to Wang Long's lazy character, Lin Su is a very hard-working and resilient woman. Every day, she is either doing experiments or exercising, and there is basically no free time. Ling Feng looked at Wang Long with a stern face and said, "I'm going to build my own base. If you don't make progress and your strength has been stagnant, you will be eliminated by others sooner or later." Wang Long was stunned when he heard this. He hurriedly sat up from the sofa, put away his laughing expression, and said in a serious tone, "You want to build a base?" Ling Feng nodded and told Wang Long his thoughts and yesterday's experience. "So, do you still think that your current strength can spend the rest of your life in the end times?" Wang Long looked solemn and kept thinking about Ling Feng's words in his eyes. In the past, he always relied on Ling Feng, always felt that he had everything, and he could take it for granted. With Ling Feng's blessing, he could live a life of plenty even in the end times. He had no idea how cruel and cold-blooded the outside world was. Without Ling Feng, any psychic could easily kill him. He could no longer muddle along like before. He had to become stronger. He could not be a burden to his brother. Instead, he had to be his strongest arm. Wang Long looked at Ling Feng with a determined face and said seriously, "I've figured it out. Chapter 117. Do you know what to do?" Ling Feng glanced at Wang Long and said. Wang Long nodded heavily and said, "I used to be lucky, thinking that I could be comfortable as long as you were with me. I was too lazy. From today on, I will train hard. I will not only improve my physical fitness, but also train a brave and invincible army for you." Ling Feng looked at Wang Long with relief. He was waiting for Wang Long to say this. Only then would he feel at ease to give the gene serum to Wang Long. He still had 4 upgraded gene serums in his hand, which were also left to him by his grandfather. If Wang Long was still the same careless look as before, he would never give it to him. Without the heart of a strong man, Even if he was given the best things, he would not become a strong man. Ling Feng said lightly, "Since you have this idea, I will help you. Follow me." Ling Feng took Wang Long to the training ground in the basement and took out the gene serum from the space. Wang Long's expression changed slightly, and he asked in confusion, "Hasn't the gene serum been used before? Will it still work if I use it again?" Ling Feng said with a smile, "The limit of the serum you used before can reach 100, and the limit of this one is 10,000. Do you think it will work?" Wang Long was shocked and looked unbelievable when he heard this. 10,000? This is too much. Wang Long took the serum from Ling Feng's hand with some trembling, and his voice changed a little. He looked at the serum in his hand eagerly, and his breathing became a little rapid. 10,000 times. If you can practice to the limit of 10,000 times, what level will it be? It's not an exaggeration to call him a god. Don't hesitate. Take the drug quickly. Ling Feng looked at Wang Long staring at the serum and urged him hurriedly. Wang Long exhaled deeply and put the serum into the syringe. He looked at Ling Feng's determined eyes, no longer hesitated, and directly thrust the needle into the heart. 1 minute later, Wang Long felt his body slowly react, and the familiar pain spread throughout his body again. Feeling that he couldn't even stand steadily, Wang Long knelt on one knee and supported the ground with both hands. Sweat as big as beans began to drip onto the ground, and veins on his forehead bulged. The expression on his face became distorted, and he looked extremely hideous. Watching Wang Long grit his teeth and persist, he didn't cry out because of the severe pain. Ling Feng nodded secretly in his heart. He knew that Wang Long was also holding his breath. He wanted to prove himself. Soon a large amount of black sticky substances began to appear on Wang Long's body. It gave off an unpleasant fishy smell. Half an hour later, Wang Long, who had completed the transformation, lay on the ground with a pale face and gasped heavily. Ling Feng took out a piece of super energy, and a top-grade inner pill from the space, and handed them over. This inner pill comes with the ability of copper skin and iron bones, which can double a person's defense ability. This ability is perfect for Wang Long, who is good at close combat. "What is this?" Wang Long said with difficulty. "Tenfold tonic pill. You will know after you eat it." Wang Long took the inner pill and swallowed it without saying a word. His originally pale face gradually showed a trace of blood and soon became full of red. After absorbing the inner pill, Ling Feng asked Wang Long to absorb the super energy ore. About half an hour later, Wang Long slowly opened his eyes. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes. "How do you feel?" "I feel stronger than ever before." Wang Long grinned. "Let's go and test our limits," Ling Feng said as he walked. The two came to the gravity cabin and began to test their physical limits. Wang Long stood in the gravity chamber with an excited look on his face, testing his strength. He adjusted the gravity directly to 100 times, but his body didn't feel anything. Wang Long's face was full of joy and excitement. Then he began to continue to increase the data, 200 times, 300 times, 400 times. The final data was fixed at 450 times. Seeing this data, Wang Long couldn't close his mouth with a smile. "We are also a strong man now," Wang Long said proudly. Ling Feng rolled his eyes and kicked him out of the gravity chamber directly, ready to guess how much his strength has increased. He did not hesitate to directly increase the data to 1,000 times, but his body didn't react much. After that, he continued to increase the data and finally stopped at 1,500 times. Seeing this data, Ling Feng didn't feel too shocked. This result is similar to the data he felt physically. Ling Feng was quite satisfied with this data. Yesterday his data was only 700. In just one day, it more than doubled. And there are still many resources in his space that have not been used. This trip to the mine was a big win. After the test, Ling Feng beat Wang Long up. Mainly because Wang Long's self-confidence was inflated, he had a fight with Ling Feng, and he was beaten without any ability to fight back. Finally, he left with a bruised face. After helping Wang Long improve, Ling Feng called Lin Su again and injected him with genetic serum. He also used a piece of or an inner pill. Lin Su's data was originally high, and the test data directly reached 600 times, and gained the ability to heal. Her ability came from Zhao Wuji. Zhao Wuji's ability development was a little higher than others, and the energy of the inner pill was also higher. Lin Su felt her own powerful strength, and a happy smile appeared on her beautiful face. Ling Feng took out the Tang sword from the space and handed it to Lin Su. This sword will be left for you in the future. You should practice your sword skills well. Lin Su looked at the exquisite Tang sword and did not reach out to take it. I don't want it. Give it to me and use it yourself. You have been using this sword for so long, and you have already become familiar with it. You should use it yourself. Ling Feng smiled slightly and gently rubbed Lin Su's head. Softly said, "This sword is no longer useful to me. You should use it." Lin Su didn't know what to say and accepted the Tang sword. By the way, how is the genetic research going now? I happen to have nothing to do today. Let's study it together. Lin Su smiled lightly. Okay, there is something I don't understand. Come and help me. The two came to the laboratory, disinfected their bodies, put on white coats, and started their research work. Now his brain has been developed by 55%, and the way he looks at data has been greatly improved. Ling Feng quickly found a solution to Lin Su's problem. After 6 hours of research, experimentation, and production, 5 serums that can increase the human body's potential by 100 times without side effects were successfully developed by Ling Feng. Ling Feng named him Soldier King No. 1. Chapter 118. The development of King of Soldiers No. 1 gene serum is perfect. It solves the long-standing sequelae of damaging lifespan and irritability, and has no harm to the human body, and it will not affect the subsequent potential improvement. Not only that, King of Soldiers No. 1 gene serum will enhance the strength of the human body even more. Although it is only 100 times the potential improvement, it can achieve a 200-fold effect in terms of strength. And the production cost of King of Soldiers serum is lower than that of ordinary serum, so it can be said that the cost performance is directly maximized. The successful development of King of Soldiers serum is of great significance to the future development of Ling Feng's base. With him, the strength of more than 300 soldiers under Ling Feng can be greatly improved in a very short time. As long as they can develop their potential to the extreme, with their rich combat experience, they can easily suppress ordinary superpowers. More than 300 soldiers are equivalent to more than 300 superpowers. Such a force can basically walk sideways in the entire Shanjing city. Even if the Kai family of Jinling, the Liu family of Qingzhou, and the people from the Storm Base come, these soldiers alone can sweep them away. Lin Su picked up a serum, her face full of excitement. Her eyes looking at Ling Feng were full of admiration and respect. She had been researching for so long without any progress, but Ling Feng solved it in just one afternoon and developed it directly. With this serum, the strength of our base will be improved soon, Lin Su said with a smile. Ling Feng nodded. Now that the serum has been developed, we need to let these soldiers use it as soon as possible. We don't have much time. The 3 groups of forces will probably find this place soon. Improving the strength of these soldiers will also give them an extra ability to save their lives in future battles. Ling Feng patted Lin Su's hips and continued. Now you should focus all your energy on improving your strength, especially your swordsmanship. Although your physical abilities have improved in all aspects, you still need to practice continuously because you lack combat experience. Ling Feng told Lin Su all his experience in using the Tang Dao and some moves. Lin Su has a strong learning ability. Ling Feng only demonstrated it once, and she was able to perform it completely. Ling Feng asked her to stay in the training ground in the basement to continue practicing swordsmanship. He took the latest developed serum, copied it, put it all in a box, and came to the soldiers' training ground. The so-called training ground is to conduct simple strength training in several empty villas. Due to venue restrictions, many training subjects cannot be carried out. In the training ground, Wang Long and Ma Wu are supervising the training of the soldiers with a serious face. What is being carried out now is the actual combat training of double fighting. The soldiers are enthusiastic about training, and their eyes are full of murderous intent. The sound of fighting on the field echoes in the villa. Although the soldiers looked tired, their movements were not vague at all. In order not to disturb their training, Ling Feng stood aside and watched them train. When it was time to rest, Ling Feng walked into the team. Ling Feng called Ma Wu and Wang Long. Ling Feng handed the box containing the King of Soldiers serum to Wang Long. He said with a serious look, "This is my latest King of Soldiers #1 serum, which can develop human potential and increase human potential by 100 times. You should notify the soldiers as soon as possible and inject one for each person. This has no side effects at all, so let them use it with confidence." "Okay, I will call everyone here now and let everyone get the injection today." Wang Long took the box, then took out the walkie-talkie and began to call the team together. Ma Wu listened to the conversation between Ling Feng and Wang Long and looked shocked. As a special warfare veteran, he also learned about genetic warriors. The military had also developed gene serum, and it consumed a lot of manpower and resources, but it was eventually abandoned because of the side effects. Today, Ling Feng actually took out a gene serum without side effects, and it was 100 times improvement. You should know that the serum developed by the military can only increase the strength of the human body by about 5 times. The most important thing is that there are no side effects. This is too amazing. Such a precious serum can be given to everyone. Ling Feng is so generous. Ma Wu couldn't help but feel lucky that he made the right decision to join Ling Feng. Soon the soldiers were gathered together. Wang Long stood on the stage and looked around. After seeing that all the people were present, he cleared his throat and said, "Brothers, gathered today, you come here for a very important matter, and it is also a good thing for you. This is the Soldier King #1 serum." Wang Long raised the serum in his hand. The soldiers looked at the serum in Wang Long's hand, and many people had a hint of confusion in their eyes. Many people have never heard of genetic serum. Wang Long paused and continued. The function of this serum is very powerful. After the human body is injected, it will increase the human body's potential by 100 times. What do you mean? Let me give you an example. For example, if your maximum strength is 200 kilograms, your maximum strength will eventually reach 20,000 kilograms if your potential is 100 times. As soon as Wang Long said this, there was an uproar in the audience. Many people exclaimed, but many people also looked skeptical. One person couldn't help but speak. "It's really that powerful. There won't be any sequelae." "Yes, it sounds unreal." Wang Long smiled confidently. He said loudly, "If you don't believe it, look at me. I'm a living example. I have also been injected with gene serum. Am I not fine now?" And this serum was developed by Ling Xiao himself. Don't you believe his words? Look at his strength. Is it necessary for him to harm you? The crowd suddenly became quiet. Yes, with Ling Feng's strength, killing them is a matter of minutes. Why bother to use such means? Those who don't want to be injected can take the initiative to stand up. We won't force them. I'll give you 30 seconds to think about it. Wang Long took out the stopwatch from his pocket and started counting. After 30 seconds, no one in the team stood up, and everyone was willing to be injected. Wang Long began to distribute serum and syringes. Finally, under a unified command, all the soldiers, including Ma Wu, were injected together. Ling Feng couldn't help but laugh at the scene of hundreds of people getting injected at the same time. It did look a bit funny. Soon, groans were heard one after another on the training ground. More than 300 people lay on the ground, holding their stomachs and groaning softly. Chapter 119. Ling Feng came to Wang Long and whispered, "I'll give you 5 days to develop all of their physical strength to 100. Can you do it?" Wang Long looked embarrassed. 5 days is too short. Time is tight. If you can't do it, give everyone electric shock therapy. That thing has a very good effect. Wang Long thought for a while and nodded. "Let me try. I'll do my best to squeeze out the last bit of their strength. In 7 days at the latest, I'll let them all reach their limit." Ling Feng always felt something was wrong when listening to Wang Long's words. But since he made a promise, Ling Feng no longer hesitated. After a brief chat with Wang Long and explaining the use of electric shock therapy, he left. The problem of the soldier's combat power has been solved. Now he can improve his own strength with peace of mind. He still has a large number of resources in his hands that he has not used. In the Liu family manor in Qingzhou City, Lu Neng, the head of the Liu family, leaned on a fine red rosewood chair with his eyes slightly closed. On the table, a cup of dahongpo, which had just been brewed, was steaming. Behind him, a girl with a delicate face skillfully pinched his shoulders. A hint of gloom appeared on his face, which was intimidating without anger. Lu Neng was in a very bad mood recently. His own brother was brutally murdered, and there were also 2 powerful superpowers in the family. As the only one in Qingzhou, the Liu family had ever suffered such a provocation. It had always been him who was killed by others, and no one had ever dared to touch his Liu family. When he thought of this, he could not suppress his anger. "You are like a fish in my pond." The satellite phone on the table rang with an incoming call. Lu Neng glanced at his customized pure gold mobile phone and saw that it was Lu Wu's call. He sat up and picked up the phone to answer it. "Old second brother, how is the investigation going?" "Brother, I found the residence of one of the people based on the wheel marks in the mine. I don't know if it has anything to do with the death of the 5th brother, but there are troops stationed there. It may be a bit tricky, and this person's strength may not be low," Lu Wu said with some concern on the other end of the phone. Lu Neng didn't react much after hearing this, but just said casually, "You can just take people to find that person and ask directly. Why are you so timid?" "Brother, I'm afraid of causing unnecessary trouble. After all, this is someone else's territory. If I go in rashly, I'm afraid it will cause a conflict." Lu Neng looked a little unhappy and directly scolded Lu Wu. "Our Lu family still cares about this. Who on the street doesn't give me Lu Neng a face? So what if we have an army? Our Lu family also has it. Can you be more confident? Take people in now to find this person and ask him about the matter clearly. If you can't explain it clearly, just bring him to Qingzhou. If they dare not cooperate, I will destroy them directly, destroy their entire army. Remember, Lu, the Lu family cannot be humiliated." Lu Neng's series of words made Lu Wu blush. The head of the family has always acted domineeringly. No matter who you are, you must abide by the rules of the Lu family. "Yes, big brother, I will take people in now and guarantee to bring the person back to you," Lu Wu said in a firm tone. "Well, do it as soon as possible." Lu Neng hung up the phone after speaking. Lu Wu on the other end of the phone no longer had any worries in his heart at this time. "I was still too cautious in my actions. Big brother is right. The Lu family cannot be humiliated. Now that the eldest brother has given me confidence, I can't embarrass the Lu family." Moreover, after observation, they found that there were only about 300 soldiers in this community, and the weapons in their hands were just ordinary guns. It is probably just a small base. Thinking of this, Lu Wu immediately stood up and said to the people next to him, "Let's take a break now and go directly to the villa in the afternoon." "Second Master, what if they don't cooperate?" a superpower next to him asked. Lu Wu smiled and said lightly, "Unless he wants to go to war with our Lu family. Fei Yang, you will meet us here in the afternoon. If we don't come back in an hour, you will report directly to the head of the family," Lu Wu said to one of the superpowers. "Yes, Second Master," Fei Yang responded respectfully. Jinling Kai family. In the reception room, Kai Haonan, the head of the Kai family, stood respectfully in front of a middle-aged man. God, there was panic in her expression, as if she was very afraid of the man in front of her. The middle-aged man was slightly fat, short, with a toad mouth and green bean eyes, and he looked very wretched. The middle-aged man spoke to Kai Haonan in a not-so-pure Chinese. "Mr. Kai, how is Jinling recently? Is there any problem?" Kai Haonan smiled flatteringly. "Don't worry, Lord Ito. The usual stability of Jinling City is still thanks to your help. If you hadn't supported us and eliminated those unstable elements, I wouldn't be able to control Jinling so easily." Ito smiled wretchedly, tiptoed, and patted Kai Haonan's shoulder. "We are just icing on the cake. and we still have to rely on Mr. Kai's own strength. Yes, yes, I will continue to work hard in the future and do my best for the development of Japan. I don't know what Lord Ito has to say today. Ito put away his smile and said angrily, "An important member of our Dragon Slayer Society has recently died. I want you to investigate and find out the murderer who killed our member and bring him to justice." Kai Haonan's expression suddenly changed, and he said indignantly, "What? How dare you touch Lord Ito's people? Who dares to be so bold?" Ito said in a low voice with a cold expression. This happened at the Wangzhuang mine in Shanjing City. The one who died this time was our company's beast tamer, Kamadai Jiro, who was also a relatively powerful psychic in our company. The two beasts in his hands were powerful, and ordinary psychics were no match for him. But this time, he and the two beasts were all killed. The people in charge were very angry and ordered us to find out quickly. So, Mr. Kai, your task is also very heavy. Kai Haonan stood up immediately after hearing this and said loudly, "Hey, it is my duty to solve the troubles for Lord Ito. Please rest assured, Lord, I will definitely find out as soon as possible." Well, Ito nodded with satisfaction. Kai Haonan came to Ito with a smile on his face and bent over and said, "Lord, it's getting late today. Why don't you stay here tonight? It's just right that I let my wife accompany you to stroll around the manor." Ito's expression moved, and a smile gradually appeared on his wretched face. "Okay, I haven't seen my sister-in-law for a long time, so let's have a good chat tonight." Chapter 120. Ling Feng slowly opened his eyes. Comfortable. Ling Feng ate 8 top-grade inner pills and absorbed 2 super energy ores. It took 3 hours to digest all the powerful energy. After carefully feeling the changes in his body, he found that there was only 1/3 of golden blood, but now there is a little more. In addition, Ling Feng's perception ability has been greatly improved again. The brain has been expanded to 80%. Ling Feng originally thought that after this improvement, the development of the brain would be fully expanded. But when Ling Feng ate the 7th top-grade inner pill, the development of the brain stopped moving forward. Even if he ate another one, there was still no change. I guess it has reached a bottleneck, and the inner pill can no longer play a role in the development of the brain. Ling Feng sighed with some regret. But even 80% of the development is already very terrifying. Ling Feng's mental control is now very powerful, no less than his physical strength. The ability to control objects remotely has been greatly improved. If he met the giant python before, he could easily kill it by relying on the ability of remote control. This time, he absorbed the best inner elixir, and he also gained an important skill. That is the gravity field he has coveted for a long time. From Zhang Jibiao's ability. Zhang Jibiao's gravity control field can directly increase the gravity within a range of 10 meters around him by 10 times. The gravity field he can cover a range of 100 meters around him, and the gravity can reach 1,000 times. In the process of fighting with others, teleportation combined with the gravity field can kill the enemy instantly, and this skill is also a group damage skill. The attack range is very wide, very suitable for use on the battlefield. Feeling the vigorous vitality of this body, Ling Feng couldn't help but feel excited. He came to the gravity cabin to test the data with excitement. The final data also surprised him. 3,300 times, an increase of nearly 1 time. With this strength, he will not be afraid of anyone's challenge. Ling Feng stood up and did some simple body exercises. He walked out of the basement training ground and came to the outside of the villa, ready to see how the soldiers were using the King of Soldiers serum. He came to a small square in the middle of the villa area, where the soldiers were training vigorously. Everyone's face was full of hope. In a corner of the square, there were 5 small generators, and a soldier on each generator was receiving electric shock therapy. Since Ling Feng gave Wang Long a death order, Wang Long started a crazy training mode, racking his brains to think of all kinds of ways to increase the training intensity of the soldiers. Whether it was electric shock therapy or anti-strike training, as long as it was a way to improve the training effect, all were used. Although the soldiers were trained to be miserable, the improvement in physical strength was visible to the naked eye. Wang Long, who was supervising the training in the square, saw Ling Feng's figure. He walked quickly to Ling Feng's side. "How about this atmosphere?" Wang Long pointed to the soldiers on the training ground with a proud face. Ling Feng glanced at Wang Long and said nonchalantly, "Your intensity is not good enough. Look, there are still people laughing on the field. This shows that your training arrangement is not saturated enough. Otherwise, how can you still have the energy to laugh? How do you lead the soldiers? If you can't do it, just say it directly. I'll let Lao Ma lead." Wang Long followed Ling Feng's gaze and saw that several soldiers were still talking and laughing during training. He was embarrassed. He originally wanted to take credit, but he didn't expect to take credit, but was slapped in the face. Wang Long was so angry that he didn't talk to Ling Feng anymore and walked away with a stern face. Wang Long walked to the middle of the training ground, called all the squadron leaders over, and scolded them. "Look at the training you organized. You are not full, right? You are all so weak. When can you form combat effectiveness with such training?" Several squadron leaders looked at each other, their eyes full of confusion. What's wrong with this guy? Why did he change his face so quickly? He just smiled and said that the training was good and asked them to keep it up. It's only been a few minutes, and he changed his face immediately. However, several people thought that after Ling Feng came just now, the captain was like this. He must have been scolded in front of Ling Feng. He vented his anger on them. Several people looked at each other, feeling helpless. After Wang Long's continuous output, he finally said, "Double the intensity of training now, and increase the training time to 18 hours a day." As soon as Wang Long said this, several captains looked. One of them couldn't help but say, "Captain, the intensity is already very high now. If we increase the intensity, the soldiers won't be able to bear it. Yes, and the rest time is so short, the soldiers can't recover effectively. Captain, we can't go too far." Wang Long was so angry at the words of the captains below that his face looked ugly, and he yelled, "Shut up!" Several people were suddenly silent and looked at Wang Long nervously. What do you know? Do you think their bodies are ordinary people now? They have all been transformed by the King of Soldiers serum and are powerful genetic warriors. Don't think with ordinary people's thinking. Even if they don't sleep for 3 days and 3 nights, there will be no problem. Don't talk nonsense. Go back and follow my orders immediately. Several captains didn't dare to refute anymore, so they could only go back and follow the orders of their leaders. Soon, wailing and groaning came from the training ground. Ling Feng, who was supervising the training of the soldiers not far away, nodded with satisfaction. That's right. Only such training can produce results, and only through repeated tempering can steel be made. How can one be reborn without suffering and exhaustion? Just when Ling Feng was full of pride, a soldier ran towards Ling Feng at a very fast speed. The soldier looked flustered, with a hint of anxiety in his eyes. The soldier came to Ling Feng and panted and said, "Mr. Ling, a group of people came outside, claiming to be from the Liu family of Qingzhou, saying that they wanted to come in to investigate the death of his brother. This group of people has a very arrogant attitude. Our soldiers had friction with them during the conversation, injured one of our soldiers, and threatened to destroy us. Captain Ma is negotiating with them. They also specifically asked the top leader to go out and greet them in person. I think they are not here with good intentions, so I hurried over to report this to you." Ling Feng was furious when he heard the soldier at the gate say this. "Qingzhou Liu family. I didn't expect them to come to my door so soon. These people are really arrogant. They dare to act tough in my territory and even hurt my people. They really don't know how to live or die. Let's go and take a look." Ling Feng walked towards the gate of the villa with a cold expression.